Chapter 82. At night, insects and birds were quiet. Wu slept on the ground, but he couldn't fall asleep. Fake, it's all fake. What starry sky? It's simply an unrealistic fantasy. Personal fate may be changed, but the future of the grass country has long been doomed. No matter how hard we try, we can only struggle to survive in the cracks of the big countries. But is it really useless? If I can become a strong man like Hanzo of the Rain Country, maybe I can protect the village. Impossible, my talent may be the strongest in the grass village, but any three of Woodleaf's genin are not weaker than me. It's impossible for me to become that kind of strong man with such ordinary talent. What should I do? Wu's eyes were confused, looking at the boundless starry sky and talking to himself. Father, if it's you. On the other side, Garashi was resting with his eyes closed. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the bottom of his heart. Don't be nervous, I'm Yamanaka Inoichi, and now I'm using the Yamanaka clan's secret technique to communicate with you. Long story short, that Wu seems to be hiding part of his strength. Considering this, he is likely to be an undercover of the rock Crypsis. Silence 1 second, 2 seconds. Yamanaka Inoichi couldn't help but ask. Why don't you talk? By the way, you can talk as long as you think it in your heart. Asma couldn't hold it anymore, and after knowing the method he quickly said, Haha, I already knew he was undercover. Yamanaka Inoichi was stunned. Already knew? He was only able to judge based on his rich experience. Since when did Asuma have such a keen eye? Asuma chuckled. It's not just me. Even Shushi and Red know about it. Yamanaka Inoichi's body outside his spiritual consciousness couldn't help but twitch the corner of his mouth. So, except for him who didn't know he was exposed, all of us knew, and we were all cooperating with him. At this moment, he inexplicably felt that the boy named Wu was a little pitiful. Asuma laughed. Who asked him to treat us like fools and fool us? However, Garashi is still the most overboard, tricking him into a daze. Garashi sighed softly. As long as it's a lie, it will be exposed one day. So I didn't lie to him. However, the truth was sometimes more deceptive than a lie. Red said worriedly. Garashi said. Don't worry about it. It's because I've wandered around in confusion that I cherish the present even more. I also hope that Senior Wu can walk out of the past. Asma muttered. You're too kind. How can you treat a spy like this? Garashi chuckled. We still don't know what's going on in the grass country, so there's no need to reject a force that can be recruited. Asma exclaimed. Wait, even the spies have come out. Could it be that the grass nation hasn't been corrupted yet? Yamanaka Inoichi said. First of all, we can't rule out that Rock Crypsis deliberately created the illusion that Kusanagi is controlled by them. Secondly, it's also possible that some of Kusanagi's forces have turned to Rock Crypsis. If we rush to make a judgment, it's likely that we'll push the forces that were originally leaning toward Woodleaf to the enemy. So, our main task is still to inquire about intelligence. I see. Yamanaka Inoichi added. Also Garashi, you can try to get information from the boy named Wu, but be careful. Garashi said. I know what to do. 2 days later, the group finally arrived at Kusanagi village. Unlike what Garashi and others thought at first, Kusanagi village was not desolate, and it even had a sense of prosperity. This change surprised several people. There are so many bandits and robbers in the grass country. Why does Kusanagi village look so harmonious? Asma asked while touching his head. Because those big people don't care about the life and death of ordinary people at all. Wu sneered. The only thing they will do is to use the interests of the grass country to please other countries around them, and use so-called diplomatic means to maintain their own rule. After that, he shook his head again. Sorry, I was a little angry. By the way, since you have arrived at Kusanagi village, let's separate here. They didn't ask him to stay, but asked, Wu-senpai, where is your home? We want to invite you to dinner before we leave. You saved me. I should be the one to invite you. Wu said with a smile. As for accommodation, I actually don't have a place to live yet. After all, Goria Castle is on a nearby island. If you want to find me, you can go to the hostel in the north of the village. I should rest there. Then we'll go to hand in the task first. Goodbye, Wuei-senpai. When the caravan left, Wuei put away the smile on his face. They don't even know Goryeo Castle. It seems that they didn't come for that matter. Under the leadership of Kitahara Shigeharu, Garashi and the others came to an extremely luxurious mansion. Yamanaka Jonin, the one who ordered this batch of materials from Woodleaf, is the Minister of Finance of our grass country. In order to avoid the covetous eyes of those bandits, we had to use the name of a caravan. Yamanaka Inoichi wasn't surprised. This was something that had been explained before accepting the task. Walking into the mansion, a middle-aged man with a pair of bright eyes was already waiting. Friends from Woodleaf, it's been hard on you. The middle-aged man invited them into the living room with great enthusiasm. I'm the Minister of Finance of the Grass Country, Ueno Shin, and the initiator of this commission. As soon as he came up, he began to pour out his grievances. Our grass country is suffering. We're really suffering. After explaining how hard the people, ninjas, and officials of the grass country were suffering, he changed the topic and mentioned the deep friendship between Woodleaf and the grass country. Finally, he raised the topic with tears. For the peace of the shinobi world, for the friendship between the two countries, I'm here to ask Woodleaf to help us with another batch of materials. Asma looked at him with admiration. Arms and materials are extremely important strategic resource reserves. It's good enough to sell them to you. But this time you're planning to get them for free? Yamanaka Inoichi tapped the table lightly. I will tell Naruto-sama about your request. However, I have a proposal. Ueno Shin smiled brightly. Please say. Yamanaka Inoichi smiled. Why don't you directly entrust Woodleaf's ninja to clean up the bandits? This way, not only do you not have to worry about the materials being robbed, but you can also ensure the safety of your ninja. Ueno Shin's smile froze, and the next moment he sighed. No, after all, this is our grass country's internal affairs. If we ask Woodleaf's ninja to do it, it may be misunderstood by our people. It doesn't matter if we're scolded, but how can we let our allies bear a bad reputation? Yamanaka Inoichi didn't insist. Is that so? It seems that I didn't think about it. Ueno Shin smiled brightly. Haha, Yamanaka Jonin is also thinking about us. Yamanaka Inoichi looked outside the door. It seems that it's getting late. Let's go back to Woodleaf early. At this time, Asma shouted according to the previous discussion. Yamanaka-sensei, let's go back to Woodleaf tomorrow. It's rare to come out. It's a pity to go back like this. Seeing that Yamanaka Inoichi was a little embarrassed, Ueno Shin also persuaded. This little ninja is very reasonable. It's rare to come out. Let's experience our grass country style. As he said that, he had already arranged. Although my place is a bit simple, it's not a problem for a few more guests. Yamanaka Jonin, you guys can stay here for the night. Chapter 83. Looking at the magnificent decoration in the room, Asma couldn't help but complain. This is really simple. My house is not so simple. Hongshin nodded in agreement. He also said that he was hard. I also want to be as hard as him. At this time, Yamanaka Inoichi in the next room created an online chat room again. You all be careful. This Ueno Shin is likely to have a problem. Asma agreed. I think so too. Thinking that Asma and the others had seen Wuei's concealment before, Yamanaka Inoichi couldn't help but examine. How did you see it? Speaking of this, Asma suddenly became excited. First of all, when he talked about how hard he was, he shook his head, which probably means that he didn't believe it himself. Secondly, when he explained why it didn't work, his body language and eyes were very uncoordinated, and several times they pointed in the opposite direction. By the way, he came up with a long speech and led the topic to materials. It's likely that he was worried that we would ask something difficult to answer, so he deliberately took the right to speak in his own hands. And after talking for about 10 minutes, he added reluctantly, of course, these analyses don't count. They can only be used as a reference. Yamanaka Inoichi was stunned and took a long time to recover. Did Naruto-sama teach you these things? It's Garashi. Seeing that the teacher was shocked, Asma felt refreshed. Didn't he build a psychology club? Then he shared some small details of his usual observations with us. Although it can't be said to be completely accurate, many times he can guess other people's thoughts. Yamanaka Inoichi felt that 10,000 mythological beasts were rushing through his heart. How could he feel that the valuable experience he had summed up in missions wasn't as thorough as Garashi's observation? He also knew about those clubs, but he never cared about them, and only thought of them as children playing house. But now he really wanted to ask, is the club still recruiting? Thinking of this, Yamanaka Inoichi coughed twice and said, "Your analysis is very good, but I'm worried that your observation is still incomplete. After you go back, you can tell me more about the content in detail, and I will give you professional guidance from the perspective of an intelligence ninja." Red asked suspiciously, "Really? Why would I lie to you?" Yamanaka Inoichi said and quickly changed the topic. "Ahem, there's only one day. We can't delay any longer. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You guys go out with the excuse of going shopping. Garashi, follow that Wu-Wei. Asma and Kurenai, you two go to the mission center of Kusanagi village. I'll talk to Shin Ueno and see if I can get anything out of him. But no matter what, you have to gather here before 6 p.m. Understood? Understood. Then let's begin." At the same time, at the North Street hostel. "Wu-Wei, tell me the information you have gathered." A short but muscular man stood in front of Wu-Wei and said, "Yes, Yongdo-sama." Wu-Wei stood straight. "According to my observations in the past 2 days, they didn't have any abnormal reaction, but they were amazed by the number of bandits in the Kusanagi village. As for Enigimo Castle, only that Jonin has some impression of it. Oh, it seems that Woodleaf is getting more and more dull." Yongdo sneered and then nodded slowly. "But it's also true that if Woodleaf really noticed our actions, they wouldn't have sent them to escort the supplies." Hearing Yongdo's words, Wu-Wei's eyes flashed. "That Woodleaf Jonin hasn't made a move, and I can't judge his strength. However, the strength of those 3 Woodleaf Jonins doesn't seem to be weaker than me." "Not weaker than you?" Yongdo-ji smiled and said, "Those 3 people, even among the genin of the Rock Village, it's hard to find anyone stronger than them. As a Jonin of Rock Crypsis, he actually doesn't think highly of these ninjas of small countries. And Woodleaf, one of the 5 great ninja villages, he can ridicule them, but a mere Kusanagi is thinking too highly of themselves." Wu-Wei clenched his fist slightly, but his face still looked amazed. "Are the 3 of them very powerful?" Yongdo's eyes became serious. According to the information, the little girl should be the weakest one. But even so, her Jinjutsu is close to the level of a Chunin. After all, her father is the strongest Jinjutsu master in Woodleaf. As for that Asma, he is the son of Sandame Naruto. What? Sandame Naruto's son? Wu-Wei couldn't believe that the guy who didn't look too smart was Naruto's son. Well, this alone is enough to show his strength. However, compared with Shimizu Garashi, the 2 of them are nothing. Wu-Wei was shocked. Is he the son of first Naruto? Well, the timing doesn't seem to match. He doesn't have any special identity. In fact, he was originally just an unremarkable orphan left behind by the war. Wu-Wei was in a trance. Shimizu Garashi seemed to have told him this before. Yongdo looked dignified. But his talent is too terrifying. He developed an A-level ninjutsu at the age of 6. 6 years old. A-level ninjutsu. Wu-Wei swallowed hard. He felt powerless. Is this a real genius? The entire Kusanagi village may not have an A-level ninjutsu, but someone else can develop it at the age of 6. This gap made him completely lose the confidence to compete. Yongdo seemed to see the ambition in Wu-Wei's eyes. He took the opportunity to beat him. Do you understand the gap between you? A small shinobi village should have the awareness of a small shinobi village. Wu-Wei's face turned blue and red. He finally lowered his head. I'm too shallow, but since they are all geniuses, should we eliminate the threat now? Yongdo was a little moved, but in the end he refused. The growth of a genius also takes time. Moreover, Woodleaf's enemies are not just us. If we leave them here, it will only lead to Woodleaf's crazy revenge, and then the other 3 shinobi villages will take advantage of it. Wu-Wei also woke up. Rock Crypsis doesn't want to eliminate the threat in advance, but the problem is that the time is too sensitive. Once the war starts in advance, it will only let the other 3 shinobi villages take advantage of it. This is not in the interest of rock crypsis. Yang-do was a little impatient, he said. In short, you don't have to worry about the next thing. Just do your own thing, and continue to attract the bandits for us. About Enigmo Castle. Wu-wei lowered his head halfway. Yes, I understand. Chapter 84. Yang-do knew that this little ninja from Kusanagi village had other ideas, but he didn't care. The powerful rock crypsis wasn't something that a weak Kusanagi village could spy on. So seeing that Wu-wei agreed, he also nodded with satisfaction. Don't be impatient. There will be a day when you get your revenge. With that, he turned around and left the room. Revenge? Wu-wei's eyes were full of sarcasm, but he didn't do anything else. He just sat quietly on the chair. No one knew what he was thinking. Almost 2 hours later, there was a sudden movement outside the window. Wu-wei quietly opened the window. A pigeon was standing by the window, combing its feathers. After seeing Wu-wei, the pigeon spat out a small paper tube hidden in its beak. Although it was a little troublesome, the risk of being found tied to his leg was undoubtedly greater. Wu-wei picked up the paper tube, opened it as fast as he could, and then carefully wrote on the back, and then put the small paper tube back into the pigeon's beak. The whole process took less than a minute. Seeing that no one found it, Wu-wei was relieved, and his eyes were slightly crazy. Oh, this is revenge. After doing all this, he finally sat back on the bed leisurely and began today's practice. A few minutes later, just as Wu-wei's restless heart gradually calmed down, a greeting suddenly woke him up. Wu-wei, senpai, we meet again. Wu-wei opened his eyes and saw Garashi sitting on the chair with a smile. When did he? Wu-wei's mind flashed many thoughts, and then he jumped out of bed with a smile. Garashi, why are you here? Where are Asma and the others? Garashi smiled. I'm alone, because I have something to ask senpai for help. Hearing that Garashi was alone, Wu-wei relaxed a little. As long as I can do it, there is absolutely no problem. That's great. Garashi smiled as he took out a small paper tube. Actually, I want to ask Senior to help me translate these codes. The smile on Wu-wei's face suddenly froze, but he reacted in the next moment. Haha, shouldn't you go to the signal team for this kind of thing? I think it would be faster to find the person directly. The person involved? I was too careless. Garashi smiled and said. Then can I trouble you to explain? Mr. Undercover. Wu-wei stopped smiling and looked around. Is this a sound sealing enchantment? That's really cautious. Garashi shrugged helplessly. We have to be prepared in advance. But you were still careless. Wu-wei smirked. You probably didn't expect this, but everyone in this hostel is from Rock Crypsis. I know. You know? Wu-wei's confident tone faltered, and he looked at Shueisha in surprise. Then, do you know that I can rush out of the room if I take a few steps forward? Although it may be rude to say this, but Garashi's tone was gentle as he looked at him with a smile. In front of me, you won't have any room to resist. Wu-wei's heart suddenly surged with anger. Although he now knows that his talent may be far inferior to Garashi, he is also a genius of Kusanagi, and he has been practicing for a few years more than Garashi. If it weren't for hiding his strength, he would have been promoted to Chunin. No matter how bad it is, it's impossible that he can't even rush out of the room. Then let's try. Boom! Before his voice fell, he knelt on the floor powerlessly. Then like a wooden doll, he was manipulated to sit in front of Garashi. How is it possible? I didn't even take a step out. This kind of printing speed, this kind of illusion, I can't resist. Although his body was controlled and he couldn't speak, Wu-wei's eyes were full of shock. He thought that he had overestimated his opponent enough. And from the beginning, he only wanted to escape a few steps away. But now it seems that not only he underestimated his opponent, but even Yang-do underestimated him. This is not a genius who hasn't grown up, but a monster in sheep's clothing. Now that I've exposed my strength, will I be killed? Wu-wei thought in his heart. But he wasn't afraid. Instead, he felt a kind of perverted pleasure. Yang-do, if you know what you are letting go of, you will regret the decision you made today. With a snap of his fingers, Wu-wei regained control of his body. Garashi shook the small paper tube and asked, Wu-wei senpai, can you tell me what this code is now? Wu-wei rubbed the place where he just fell and said with a cold face, If I don't even have the awareness of death, I won't be a ninja. Just kill me, I won't say anything. Garashi wasn't angry, he just tapped his fingers on the table. Wuei-senpai, do you know the Woodleaf Yamanaka clan? Hearing Garashi mention the Yamanaka clan, Wuei's face changed slightly. It seems that you know. Seeing the other party's reaction, Garashi nodded slightly. Unfortunately, Yamanaka-senpai is an excellent jonin of this clan. And I can use Jinjutsu to control you to find Yamanaka-senpai. This way, in the eyes of the Rock Crypsis, you are betraying them again. How do you think those furious Rock Crypsis ninjas will deal with Kusanagi and your people? Wuei clenched his hands angrily. Too despicable. Garashi said lightly. For a ninja, despicable is not a powerful condemnation. Wuei helplessly lowered his head. Indeed, ninja wasn't a bright profession, and his own means were completely different from the light. Just as he was about to say the answer, he heard Garashi laugh out loud. What are you laughing at? Wuei asked with a dark face. Haha, are you scared? Garashi laughed for a while, then immediately put on a serious face. I said this just to let you know that everything you do can be reflected on others. Wuei's face was complicated. Don't you want to know the answer? Garashi knew that the other party's psychological defense had a flaw. Of course I want to know, but I won't use this method to deepen the hatred. Besides, don't you still have the seal? Yu Shangrong smiled. Don't you have the seal? Seal? Wuei was stunned, and the part of the memory that was ignored in his mind suddenly returned. And then he looked at Garashi with gritted teeth. You just unlocked a part of the Jinjutsu. Knowing so many secrets, Rock Crypsis will certainly put a seal on him. In other words, even if he was controlled to appear in front of Yamanaka Inoichi, Rock Crypsis will not suspect him of betrayal. They will only think that he is being held hostage. Thinking of this, Wuei's face was very ugly. You did this just to tease me? Garashi slowly shook his head. No, I wanted to see your heart clearly. Heart. Wuei was a little confused, but he was too lazy to think more. With the seal, I can't tell you the answer. You can do it now. Chapter 85. Garashi just shook his head. Sometimes the seal can't solve everything. Wuei was puzzled. What do you mean? Garashi continued his analysis. The hostel is obviously filled with people from Rock Crypsis, but you used a secret signal to communicate with people outside. It seems that your identity as a spy must be very complicated, right? Wuei now understood Garashi's plan. He wanted to deduce the meaning of the secret signal himself. While he was shocked, he could not help but refute. This doesn't mean anything. Maybe the hostel's owner is not here, and we have to communicate through birds? Garashi shook his head slightly. When I sneaked in, I eavesdropped. The owner of this hostel is called Black Light. Maybe it's a fake name, but he left more than an hour ago, and you checked in 2 hours ago. Wuei's lips opened slightly, but he did not speak. Due to the restriction of the seal, he could not say or write down the secret of the spellcaster. However, this level of reaction was enough. Which village did the second person contact you from? Garashi tilted his head. I'm guessing it's still Rock Crypsis? Wuei's pupils contracted violently, his eyes filled with shock. Seeing Wuei's reaction, Garashi could not help but laugh. It seems that I guessed right. Wuei waved his arms vigorously. This doesn't make sense at all. How can you guess like this? Because when I used the illusion to control you just now, I tried to see if I could bypass the seal. I didn't have much hope at first, but the final result surprised me. Garashi rubbed his chin. Without considering the protection of your brain, I can completely break the seal. Perhaps it was because of Garashi's previous display of strength. Wuei did not doubt this. He only asked with a complicated expression. Then why didn't you do that? The life or death of a spy has no impact on you. Garashi's eyes were calm. Because I saw the desire in your eyes, the desire for the future and change. Wuei's mind was shaken, and his thoughts became chaotic. Garashi continued. It's precisely because this seal is too simple that it makes me suspicious. Since you're not good at sealing, why don't you let the sealing class do it? Wuei had a strange look on his face. Although the person who put the seal on him was not good at sealing, that person was still a jonin. How could it become so simple in Garashi's words? Garashi didn't care too much about Wu Wei's strange look. After all, the person who taught him the sealing technique didn't even care about Naruto's seal. After a short pause, Garashi continued. The best reason is that he didn't dare to contact the village's sealing class. That's why I'm guessing that he's a member of Rock Crypsis. He might even be the leader of this operation. The shock in Wu Wei's eyes can no longer be described with words. Just based on the information collected in a few minutes, the other party could speculate to this extent. Compared with Garashi, he suspected that he wasn't suitable to be a ninja at all. Garashi wasn't satisfied with this and continued to analyze. Being able to lead so many ninjas to carry out the mission shows that the person should be a very trusted senior member of Rock Crypsis. Even such a person has other ideas. Ordinary temptation won't work. And according to my inquiries these days, perhaps only the legend of Ghost Lantern City has this kind of temptation. Wu Wei couldn't help but ask, "Wait, I've been paying attention to you these days. How come I didn't know that you asked about Ghost Lantern City?" Shushi smiled and waved his hand. "Your reaction that day was too abnormal. That's why I decided to ask around for information. As for you, is it that difficult for me to avoid you when I know you're a spy?" Wu Wei stared. "You already knew that I was a spy." Shushi corrected him. "To be precise, all of us knew about it on the first day. I'm really not suitable to be a ninja." Wu Wei lowered his head and closed his eyes. The box of bliss that can fulfill people's wishes. Only this kind of thing can make a Rock Crypsis Jounin have ideas that shouldn't be. And the reason why you're willing to work for him should be to split Rock Crypsis. I really can't hide anything from you. Wu Wei slowly raised his head, his eyes slightly crazy. Yes, whether it's Rock Crypsis or Wood Leaf, it's better to destroy them all. Since that's the mentality, it's not difficult to guess the code. Garashi nodded slightly. Although Rock Crypsis is actively preparing for war, they don't want to be the first to be involved in the war. If I were you, I naturally wouldn't want them to get what they want. I would probably hope that Wood Leaf and Rock Crypsis would be involved in the war ahead of time. And it would be best if the other 3 villages took advantage of the opportunity to destroy them. And what you can do is to arouse the desire of the tempted Rock Crypsis Jounin and make him attack us. So, this code probably means that the more talented the person, the better the effect of the sacrifice to the box of bliss. After that, Garashi smiled and looked at Wu Wei. "Wu Wei senpai, did I guess correctly?" Wu Wei looked at him in shock, a trace of inexplicable fear in his heart. Although he was shocked by Garashi's strength before, deep down, he was still somewhat dismissive. Isn't it just talent? If he had that kind of talent, he could do it too. But now he didn't have such thoughts at all. Talent, strength, temperament, intelligence, no matter which aspect, he is strong enough to make people afraid. In this world, is there really such a perfect person like him? Wu Wei couldn't help but think. If he was a Kusanagi, maybe all of this could really be changed. Shaking his head, Wu Wei closed his eyes. "Since you have already guessed it, then I am useless, just kill me." Garashi shook his finger. Although Senpai can't say anything about the Rock Crypsis Jounin, but Rock Crypsis's other arrangements and infiltrated forces in the grass country should be able to say. "Yes, but why should I tell you?" Wu Wei's eyes were indifferent. "Don't forget, I want Wood Leaf and Rock Crypsis to be destroyed." Garashi didn't get angry, he just looked straight into his eyes. "But have you ever thought that once the war breaks out, the grass country will most likely become the battlefield again? You are dragging them into hell again." "No, Kusanagi has no future," Wu Wei shouted. "Only by destroying Wood Leaf and Rock Crypsis together can they be resurrected in the ruins." "No, you are wrong." Garashi shook his head slowly. "There is still hope for Kusanagi. Don't tell me you want to talk about the box of bliss?" Wu Wei sneered. "That thing is simply a bottomless pit. It can't be filled. I never believe in illusory things like wishes. The hope I am talking about is." Garashi pointed to himself. "Me?" Wu Wei stared at him. "You?" Garashi asked with a smile. "What do you think of me?" Wu Wei was silent for a moment. "Even if I stand in the enemy's position, I have to admit that I have never seen anyone as powerful as you. Those arrogant Rock Crypsis, compared to you, they are not even sand." Garashi accepted the praise calmly. "Then do you think it is possible for me to become Naruto?" Wuwei's eyes bloomed with brilliance, but immediately dimmed. Even Naruto can't influence the decision of Rock Crypsis. Then surpass Naruto. Garashi's words were full of strong confidence. Let those who don't understand what peace is hear our voice. Wuwei's blood was faintly boiling. If it was this man, he could do it. A dreamer can only find his way under the moonlight. His punishment is to be the first to see the dawn. Garashi smiled and invited. So, do you want to try to see the dawn with me? Chapter 86. Wuwei couldn't help but agree. I understand, although I'm just an ordinary genin, I'll do my best. Don't underestimate yourself, you're not ordinary, and you can't be ordinary. Garashi smiled slightly. If you're too ordinary, how can you become the Kage of Kyuzugakure? Wuwei's eyes were in a trance. Kage? Garashi nodded. Only when you become the Kage of Kyuzugakure can you reduce the resistance of what we want to do. Wuwei's eyes burned with the flame of ambition. I will become the Kage. Only then can I become your arm. That's a bit off topic. Garashi laughed. Let's talk about the arrangement of Rock Crypsis. Wuwei tried to calm his excited heart, and also laughed. If the Rock Village knew that the seal that was originally used to keep their secret was secretly changed by that person to keep his secret, they would be so angry that they would vomit blood. It's a pity that I can't see their angry faces. Wuwei sighed and said, in addition to that person, Rock Crypsis sent 1 jonin, 5 chunin, and 27 genin. As for the Kyuzugakure, I know that nearly half of the high-level officials have been infiltrated. They are the daimyo of the Kyuzugakure, the Minister of Finance. After listening to Wuwei's long list of names, Garashi's eyes narrowed. The situation is more serious than I thought. With that, Garashi cleared his residual aura, opened the window, and put the small paper tube back into the beak of the pigeon waiting outside. He used genjutsu to delete part of the pigeon's memory before sending it away. Wuwei was a little confused. That note is... Garashi calmly closed the window. Don't worry, I have my own plans. Hearing Garashi's words, Wuwei no longer asked. He now trusts Garashi almost unconditionally. Since Garashi said so, there will be no problem. In addition, I have something to ask you for help. The finance minister's residence. Seeing Garashi return, the 3 people who had been waiting here for a long time finally breathed a sigh of relief. Asma, who was thirsty, immediately shouted, let me tell you what Kurenai and I found first. The mission center has indeed changed. Most of the commission missions are more likely to be given to Rock Crypsis. I suspect that the upper echelons of Kyuzugakure may have been infiltrated. Yamanaka Inoichi's voice was heavy. In my communication with Shin Ueno, I also discovered a terrible fact. That is, the daimyo of Grass Country may have betrayed Wood Leaf. Garashi agreed. You're right. Other than the daimyo, there's also the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. After listening to Garashi's long list of names, they all fell silent. They didn't suspect anything. With Garashi's cautious and steady nature, he must have confirmed the answer. However, they were still puzzled. That's not right. We're just guessing. How come you already have an answer? Everyone is trying to get information. Why are you so outstanding? Kurenai whispered. That's amazing. Garashi, you've got a lot more information than us. Garashi smiled and accepted the compliment. In addition to this, I also know the layout and strength of Rock Crypsis in Kyuzugakure. Asma screamed in horror. Garashi, what did you do to that Wuwei? Why did he even tell you this? Shushi said indifferently. Because I instigated his rebellion. They were silent again. To be sent as an undercover by Rock Crypsis, it means that the other party should be very trusted. Even in the eyes of Rock Crypsis, it's impossible for him to betray them. How did Shushi manage to instigate a rebellion in just a few hours? As an intelligence ninja, Yamanaka Inoichi almost doubted his life. Was it so easy to get information? Then what was I doing in the past? Bastard, Asma asked blankly. Then is our mission completed? Yamanaka Inoichi smiled bitterly. It should be. He originally wanted to let his disciples see how he completed the mission as a jonin, so that they could also experience the joy of flying. But it's just the beginning. How did Garashi lead them all the way to the end? This kind of lying down winning position is too shameful. Then have a good rest tonight and go back tomorrow. Yamanaka-sensei, please wait. Garashi interrupted. Although the information of rock crypsis has been collected, I also found other information in the process. Kurenai asked in surprise. There is other information? Garashi's voice was heavy. Rock crypsis placed 2 jonins in Kuzugakure, and the jonin in charge of this operation seems to have some strange thoughts. Yamanaka Inoichi's eyes fluctuated slightly. Garashi, explain it in detail. Garashi said seriously. Simply put, there is a box of bliss that is said to be able to fulfill people's wishes. The rock crypsis jonin believed in this statement and tried to open the box of bliss by sacrificing the power of those prisoners. Of course, his statement to the rock crypsis is to control the prisoners in Kuzugakure as a hidden force in the war. Yamanaka Inoichi couldn't help but interrupt. Wait, Garashi, how do you know? I also learned this from Wuwei. But for such an important thing, shouldn't he have a seal on him? The information he inadvertently revealed is enough for me to deduce the general process, and judging from his reaction, I should not be wrong. Garashi's tone was calm, as if he was talking about a trivial matter. Yamanaka Inoichi was once again at a loss. Even the seal can be bypassed. Perhaps it was too much of a shock. Asma was already used to it. He reacted faster than Yamanaka Inoichi and asked, then can we spread the news and use it to cause internal strife in rock crypsis? You think too highly of him. With the prestige of Tsuchikage in rock crypsis, a jonin can't change anything but. Garashi pondered for a moment. This may be an opportunity to change the situation of Kuzugakure. Asma's eyes suddenly lit up. Garashi, you want to take this opportunity to eliminate rock crypsis in Kuzugakure. Before his voice fell, Yamanaka Inoichi hurriedly interrupted. No, it's too dangerous. No matter what, the enemy is also 2 jonins, and many chunin and genin, and even the prisoners of Hozuki Castle. We can't fight against them at all. Yamanaka-sensei, don't worry, I'm not the kind of hot-blooded brute. Garashi smiled and comforted. Since I said so, I naturally have some preparations. Yes, Garashi must have thought of a way. Asma was encouraging and suddenly realized something was wrong. Wait, Brute isn't talking about me, is he? Thinking of Garashi's consistent performance, Yamanaka Inoichi also calmed down a little. What are you going to do? Garashi methodically analyzed. First of all, Wuwei. As a descendant of the Hozuki Castle clan, he knows the box of bliss best. Therefore, the rock crypsis jonin valued him so much and deliberately set a seal on him. And because of this seal, he most likely won't doubt Wu Wei's words. Hearing this, everyone already understood Garashi's plan. Red Face asked excitedly, is it to let Wu Wei drive a wedge between them? It's actually very difficult to succeed under normal circumstances. But, Garashi clasped his hands and held his chin. For those who have a guilty conscience, as long as there is a little doubt, it's enough to make them desperate. This is external. And the next is internal. Garashi looked at Yamanaka Inoichi with a dignified expression. Yamanaka-sensei, your clan's psychic secret jutsu should be able to do this. Hearing Garashi's detailed plan, Yamanaka Inoichi's eyes lit up, and finally, even he was moved. If the plan goes smoothly, maybe it's really possible to succeed. In this way, we can not only remove the rock crypsis's power in Kusanagi, but also let Kusanagi be hated by rock crypsis, and finally return to our side of Woodleaf. Asma nodded again and again. Even if the plan fails, we can let Garashi use the flying thunder god jutsu to take us away. Yamanaka Inoichi exhaled heavily. Well, I'll go crazy with you once. Chapter 87. At the same time in Hashizuki Castle, in the underground darkroom, a burly middle-aged ninja stood in front of a huge box, gently stroking it, his eyes burning with desire. The legendary treasure of the Six Paths Sage. Wake up quickly and fulfill my wish. Naturally, the box didn't respond, but he didn't care. As long as he thought of the note he received this afternoon, he couldn't help but feel excited. Is the quality of the previous offerings too bad? It doesn't matter. I have found a better replacement. It won't take long. At this time, there was movement above the darkroom. Blackrock-sama, Yongdo-sama is here. Okay, I'll go up. Looking at the box of bliss with reluctance, Black Rock put on a smile and went out. Outside. Black Rock-sama, things are basically clear. After seeing Black Rock, Yongdo didn't talk much and went straight to the point. Woodleaf didn't notice our actions. When they leave, we can continue. Well, Black Rock pondered a little. Actually, I have a new idea. New idea? That's right, let those Konoha ninjas stay here forever. Black Rock-sama, isn't this too radical? Yongdo was shocked and asked. Haha, you are too steady. If you don't take risks, how can you win the war? Black Rock patted him on the shoulder and laughed. Yongdo frowned. But this way, our intentions will be completely exposed. Black Rock waved his hand indifferently. Your idea is still too rigid. If we invite those little ninjas to rock Crypsis, maybe we can make Woodleaf united with us? Yongdo was still hesitant. But what if Woodleaf is not threatened? Or should we ask Tsuchikage-sama? Black Rock was very unhappy. Are you the leader, or am I the leader? By the time you ask, Woodleaf will have already run away. Yongdo could only smile bitterly. Well, I'll let Wuwei invite them, but you still have to be careful of that Yamanaka Inoichi. Black Rock instantly smiled. Don't worry, it's not the first time I've dealt with the Yamanaka clan. As long as I'm careful, their secret spirit jutsu won't work. Yongdo nodded. Woodleaf's Inoshika butterfly combination was indeed powerful. But if it was just one of them, they just had to be a little more careful. Kuroda was about to leave when he hesitated and reminded. Kuroshi-san, the prisoners of Hozuki Castle should be handled with caution. If the other major ninja villages know that we are accommodating these combat forces, it will be troublesome. Blackstone smiled. Don't worry, no one will know. After Yongdo left, the smile on Blackstone's face slowly disappeared. Idiot. Do you really think I'm interested in the strength of those prisoners? All I want is their chakra. As for the Tsuchikage, Inoki is old, and there should be a more suitable master for him. No, that's not right. As long as I can master the secret of the box of bliss, who cares about the Tsuchikage? I should be the master of this world. Hey. Huh. Just as he was feeling proud, a pigeon fell at his feet. The second time today. I should have told him not to contact me frequently, right? Black Rock's eyes were gloomy as he picked up the small paper tube. I hope it's important news otherwise. Huh? Just a glance, Black Rock's eyes widened. Damn. He dares. No wonder he told me this today. Was it to test me? Black Rock's eyes were uncertain, as if he had made a great decision. Don't blame me, I can't go back. The next day, early morning, Garashi, who had just finished his morning practice, stood in front of the mirror and said to himself, this plan, in addition to making Yamanaka-sensei pay more attention to my opinion, so as to pave the way for future actions, this experience is also essential. But before that, I must seal the most critical part of the memory. As for the key to unseal it, let's set it as Woodleaf's perception enchantment. Thinking of this, Garashi no longer hesitated, his hands formed a seal, and finally pressed on his eyebrows. Outside the finance minister's mansion. Yongdo-sama. Call me Black Light, remember, my current identity is the deputy warden of Jayden. Yes, Black Light-sama. Wuwei changed his address and asked. But didn't you say yesterday that you don't need to care about them? Yongdo's face turned red, and he shouted. I didn't say that, you must have remembered it wrong. Without waiting for Wuwei to answer, he guiltily turned his head. Don't waste time, let's go in. Yes. The two walked in, pretended to talk with Ueno-shin, and then were led to the room of Garashi and others. Yamanaka-sensei. Wuwei greeted from a distance. Wuwei, you are? Yamanaka Inoichi asked doubtfully. This is our deputy warden of Jayden, Black Light-sama. Wuwei first introduced, and then invited. We came here today to ask Yamanaka-sensei to go to Jayden. Jayden? What are we going to do there? Asma asked in a timely manner. Let me explain, Yizichin said. Yongdo's face looked bitter. Oh, the situation in Jayden is too difficult, whether it's manpower or equipment. It's almost impossible to support. But our words carry little weight, and no one will care about what we say. So we want to ask a few Woodleaf ninjas to be witnesses, and tell Naruto-sama what they see. Yamanaka Inoichi frowned and seemed hesitant. Kurenai bit her lip and said pitifully, Yamanaka-sensei, why don't you help Wuei-sensei? Asuma patted his chest and said, Yamanaka-sensei, don't worry. If the old man blames you for delay in returning to the village, you can put the blame on me. Yamanaka Inoichi smiled bitterly. Well, but let's say in advance at most we will stay for another day. Naruto's son can influence the decision of a jonin. With Leaf's power is really corrupt. Yongdo despised in his heart, but his face was grateful. Thank you so much. I will do my best to entertain you. It's just that this reception may not be the same as what you think, hehe. Yongdo quickly lowered his head, worried that the other party would see his smile. On the side, looking at the secretly proud Yongdo, Wuei felt a burst of sympathy. Sure enough, it's the same as last time. Only you don't know that you are the one being played. Wait, it seems wrong. Last time, it was the 4 of them who played me. But this time, it's the 5 of us who played him. Moreover, Black Rock may be thinking about how to kill him now. Thinking of this, Wuei only felt that the word miserable was written all over Yongdo's body, and he couldn't bear to look directly at it. Chapter 88. In the gloomy and treacherous fog, a high city loomed. Haha, it's really rude to let several distinguished guests come to such a place. Yongdo stood on the deck and looked at Garashi and others apologetically. Hey, we just came here once and it's so uncomfortable. It's hard to imagine how you usually come here. Yamanaka Inoichi also followed the act. It's not easy for everyone. Yongdo shook his head with emotion and then invited. Then let's go in now. Entering the gate of the Ghost Lantern City, Black Rock was already waiting. Let me introduce you. This is our Ghost Lantern City's Lord, Black Rock-sama. Yongdo said while winking at Black Rock. But Black Rock just ignored it and enthusiastically pulled Yamanaka Inoichi. I'm so happy that you can come. Everyone go and sit down first. I'll arrange the banquet. Yamanaka Inoichi declined. No, Black Rock-sama, you're too polite. Black Rock said with a straight face. You're not giving me face. Although our Ghost Lantern City is remote, we're not people who don't know etiquette. Yamanaka Inoichi smiled bitterly. In that case, thank you for your hospitality. Seeing this, Black Rock smiled with satisfaction. That's right. Wuei, take the guests to sit down first, Blacklight, and I will prepare the ingredients. Yes. When they left, Yongdo asked puzzledly, Black Rock-sama, why didn't you do it directly? Black Rock shook his head and smiled. When you should be steady. You're not steady. Yamanaka Inoichi is a jonin. If you push him too hard, it will cause us a lot of losses. After all, it's not easy to catch them alive. Yongdo instantly woke up. Yes, we're here to catch people. It's harder to catch them alive than to kill them. Black Rock said with a smile. So we have to wait patiently for an opportunity. Opportunity? Yongdo's eyes lit up. Black Rock-sama, are you going to poison the banquet? But halfway through he frowned again. That Yamanaka Inoichi is a jonin. He should be familiar with all kinds of poisons. It's hard to just poison him, right? Black Rock calmly asked. Have you forgotten how Ghost Light City got its name? Yongdo suddenly realized, Goi dang. It's the ghost lanterns that grow all around the island. Black Rock nodded slightly. This ghost lantern is a specialty of the island. It's impossible for him to recognize it. Moreover, ordinary ghost lanterns won't cause any problems after eating them, but the white variant will cause paralysis all over. Yongdo clapped his hands and smiled. We can eat the regular ghost lantern first to make them less vigilant. Then, we can grind the white mutants and hide them in the regular ghost lantern. When the drugs take effect, they will be at our mercy. Black Rock laughed as well. Furthermore, ghost lantern isn't poison. It'll be even harder for them to discover it. At this point, the two looked at each other and smiled. An hour later in the spacious hall, all kinds of sweet and delicious food filled the table. At a glance, it was enough to make people hungry. Distinguished guests, this is a banquet held to thank you, so please don't be shy. Black Rock sat in the main seat and said enthusiastically, Really? Then I'm going to start eating. Asuma shouted and began to eat heartily. What a forthright guest. Let's eat. Yongdo said with a smile and started to eat. Seeing this, The people at the table no longer hesitated and joined the ranks of the battle. Is it finally going to start? Black Rock was almost trembling with excitement, but he still restrained himself. No, it's not the time to be happy yet. We can't let them find out the problem. If there is, we can use conversation to divert their attention. Thinking of this, Black Rock suddenly said with a smile, "Have you heard? The Kazekage of San Cripsis village may be dead." Puff! Everyone at the table spat out a mouthful of saliva. Young Do was even more confused. Why did Black Rock Senpai suddenly let himself go? Yamanaka and Noichi couldn't help but ask, "Castellan, is this news accurate?" Black Rock smiled. It's not clear whether he's dead or not, but the disappearance has basically been confirmed. Let's continue eating. Everyone ate the food with a heavy heart, inexplicably feeling that a storm was coming. Black Rock said with a smile, "There are not many people in the shinobi world who have the ability to kill or kidnap the Kazekage. San Cripsis will most likely suspect the Kages of various villages, and the closest villages to San Cripsis village are Woodleaf and Rock Cripsis." Ahem. Young Do coughed twice and reminded, "Castellan, we are weak. Let's not talk about this kind of thing, okay?" Black Rock laughed and said, "It's my fault. Everyone continue to eat." At this moment, Asma's eyes suddenly widened, and his hands and feet twitched as he fell down. What happened to me? Asuma, you." Before he could finish his sentence, Rinse and Red fell to the ground one after another. "No, it's poisonous." Yamanaka and Noichi was a jonin, and he barely held on for a moment, looking at Black Rock and others angrily. "Who the hell are you? Why did you do this?" Seeing his angry look, the other ninjas on the table laughed. "Idiot, of course we're Rock Cripsis people. Hey, I didn't expect that even Naruto's son fell into our hands. Woodleaf's ninjas are really useless, we just used a trick." But before they could finish their words, their legs twitched and they fell to the ground. "What's going on?" "I know. The person who drugged them must have mixed them up and made all the berries mutant. Damn, is there anyone who didn't get poisoned?" "Of course I'm fine." Black Rock chuckled and stood up. A Rock Cripsis Chunin shouted excitedly, "Great, Black Rock-sama, hurry up and solve it for us." Boom! The Chunin who spoke was kicked out by his foot. Seeing this scene, the Rock Cripsis couldn't believe it. "Black Rock-sama, what are you doing?" Black Rock sighed deeply. "Are you all idiots? At this time, you don't think I'm on your side, do you?" Their last fantasy was ruthlessly broken, and the Rock Cripsis were all angry. "You bastard, how dare you betray Rock Cripsis? Damn it, what did the village do to you?" Young Do pointed at him with a trembling finger. "Are you from San Cripsis, Yunin or Kirin?" "I'm not from any side, I only belong to myself." Black Rock laughed wildly. "Wu-wei, get up. Go seal their chakra as the last sacrifice for the box of bliss." Chapter 89. Hearing Black Rock summon, Wu-wei stood up from the collapsed crowd. "Yes." Seeing this, Young Do's eyes widened again. You've been colluding for a long time?" Black Rock smiled happily. "Young Do, you can only blame yourself for being too stupid. Do you think you're monitoring him? In fact, I asked him to monitor you." Young Do's face was full of shame, and suddenly realized a problem. "Wait, did you just say the box of bliss?" Black Rock squinted. "It seems that you don't know anything." Young Do said angrily, "That kind of thing is a false lie. You betrayed Rock Cripsis for a lie?" Black Rock's face sank. "Enough. Don't say any more. If you didn't push me too hard, I wouldn't have to take risks like this. In short, I'll sacrifice you first, and if it's not enough, I'll sacrifice the entire Ghost Lantern City, and I'll definitely open it." "We forced you." Young Do was wondering, and then he saw Wu Wei approaching him step by step. As Wu Wei's former boss, he naturally knew the power of the other side's confinement jutsu, and he didn't dare to continue to delay. "Don't underestimate Rock Cripsis. Earth Release, Earth Flow River." Wu Wei's pupils shrank, and he quickly dodged before the earth under his feet turned into a river. "You can still use jutsu, but I underestimated your will." Looking at Young Do's slightly trembling body, Black Rock understood that the other side actually didn't get rid of the paralysis effect of the mutated ghost lantern. He was just forcibly controlling his body. You want me to surrender with a mere paralysis? Yang-do made a defensive posture and shouted. Yamanaka Inoichi, don't pretend to be asleep. I know you can stand up. However, Yamanaka Inoichi was lying on the ground, without any movement. That guy. Black Rock's eyes narrowed slightly, and he now suspected that the other side might be pretending to be asleep. However, this is also good. If the two Jonins joined forces, he would be in trouble. Now, a half-disabled Jonin can be dealt with easily. You bastard, can't you see the big picture? Yang-do was still there, and Black Rock took the opportunity to attack. Earth Release, Earth Dragon Bullet. A huge Earth Dragon had appeared beside Black Rock, continuously spitting Earth bullets at Black Rock. Earth Escape, Return of the Earth. Yang-do hurriedly slapped the ground in front of him, flipping over a piece of floorboard to block his front. Bang, bang. The mud pellets hit the stone floor and flew in all directions, causing the dust on the ceiling to rustle and fall. Fortunately, the hall was spacious enough. Otherwise, the shockwaves from their first exchange would have buried the others alive. That bastard. Yang-do looked at a certain someone who was sleeping soundly and gritted his teeth. Earth Escape, Earth Clone. The four Yang-do ran in the direction of Yamanaka Inoichi, apparently forcing him to join the battle. Don't even think about messing around. Black Rock quickly formed a seal and pressed it onto the ground. Earth Release, Earth Spear. Sharp earth spikes suddenly protruded from the ground and pierced through Yang-do's Earth Clone. Seeing that Yamanaka Inoichi still didn't respond, Yang-do secretly hated. Forget it, this guy is hopeless. It's a good thing that Wood Leaf is a bunch of impulsive people. Black Rock was secretly happy, but he didn't want to provoke them. Earth Release, Rock Pillar Prison. A rock pillar rose into the sky, imprisoning Yang-do inside. Yang-do's face changed slightly, and he subconsciously began to form a seal. Earth Release, Hardening Technique. Sure enough, the rock pillar split into countless thin spikes in the next moment, nailing his body like a board of nails. Kacha! In a teeth-numbing sound, the spikes broke. But Yang-do's face didn't look good. Not only is the seal slow, even the flow of chakra in my body is somewhat sluggish. This level of hardening technique can't block much damage at all. Seeing Black Rock waving his heavy rock fist, breaking the rock pillar and rushing towards him, Yang-do hurriedly used earth diving technique to escape from the ground. He knew very well that he couldn't be Black Rock's opponent in this state. He could only delay as much time as possible, hoping that the effects of the other rock crypsis would pass as soon as possible. Annoying Loach. Black Rock's pursuit was fruitless, and he was feeling anxious. Suddenly, he realized that the other party seemed to be deliberately leading him away from a certain direction. Oh, so this is your plan? Although it's just a boring delusion, but I just like to break delusion. Black Rock stopped and walked towards the corner with a grin. In the corner, a group of rock crypsis ninjas were desperate. Don't you want to stand up and save your pitiful subordinates? Damn it, I'll kill you. A rock crypsis ninja struggled to stand up and wanted to join the battle, but even the shuriken he shot was crooked, so it was impossible for him to succeed. Black Rock didn't hesitate and directly pierced the ninja's heart with his earth spear. Then, he began to form seals towards the second person. This time Yang-do, who was hiding in the dark, couldn't bear it anymore. Earth Release, Heart Beheading Technique. The ground under Black Rock's feet turned over and swallowed him whole, leaving only his head exposed. But in the next moment, the trapped Black Rock disappeared from everyone's eyes. Not good, it's the Earth Clone. Yang-do knew that it was bad, but he didn't have time to think and quickly used hardening technique to protect his body. Whoosh! A ball of pure white light suddenly burst out in the hall, blinding everyone's eyes. When the light dissipated, everyone saw the situation in front of them. Black Rock's arm was inserted in Yang-do's chest and came out from his back. The Thunder Escape Technique defeats the Earth Escape Technique. You've lost. Black Stone whispered in his ear and happily pulled his arm out. No, Yang-do-sama. It's over. It's all over. A group of rock crypsis ninjas looked at Wood Leaf with despair and hatred. In their view, If this group of woodleaf ninjas could temporarily put aside their previous grievances, it was possible to defeat Black Rock. Now everyone was dead for sure. At this time, Yamanaka and Noichi, who had been pretending to be dead, suddenly turned over and rushed up. Seeing this, those Rock Crypsis ninjas were mocking him. What's the use of attacking now? Do you think Black Rock will be careless in his ecstasy? Haha, idiot, I've been waiting for you here. Black Rock laughed. The so-called spiritual secret jutsu, as long as you are careful. But at this moment, a blue ball appeared in Yamanaka and Noichi's hand. Black Rock, who had been guarding against the opponent's spiritual secret jutsu, was at a loss. When did the Yamanaka clan become so good? Although somewhat confused, Black Rock could still perceive the great power contained in the ball, and subconsciously wanted to avoid it. Ninjutsu. Heart confusion jutsu. Black Rock's body stiffened, and lost control of his body. How is this possible? I've been careful. Black Rock was terrified, but from the corner of his eyes, he caught a glimpse of a small figure making a jutsu gesture. He's also a Yamanaka? No, I understand. Black Rock's eyes were shocked, and then he was sent flying by Yamanaka and Noichi's ball. Chapter 90. This sudden turn of events made everyone at a loss. How could the Yamanaka clan, famous for their spiritual techniques, use such a powerful ninjutsu? That woodleaf kid. When did he learn the Yamanaka clan's spiritual techniques? While their thoughts were in chaos, Wuwei rushed up nervously. Black Rock-sama, there is a secret passage in Ghost Lantern City. I will take you out. Black Rock resisted his injury and put his hand on Wuwei's shoulder. Quick, take me out of Katon. Heavenly prison. Black Rock suddenly raised his head and looked at Wuwei in disbelief. You. Sorry, I'm actually a spy. Black Rock's whole body twitched and trembled. At this time Asma, who was lying on the ground, also jumped up. Hey, isn't this too much of a challenge? I haven't done anything yet. Yamanaka and Noichi smiled and patted his shoulder. No, if it wasn't for your excellent performance, we might have been seen through. Asma nodded in agreement and immediately looked at Garashi with contempt. Yamanaka-sensei's acting is too bad. He didn't dare to say a word. I had to attract the fire for him. Garashi twitched his mouth. My acting is too bad, I'm sorry. Black Rock's face was full of shame. His finger trembled as he pointed at several people. You're okay? Kurenai nodded and smiled playfully. By the way, your berries are delicious. Black Rock was like being struck by lightning. He suddenly raised his head. Wait, if he's a spy, that means the information he sent yesterday was fake. Wuwei said indifferently. Congratulations, you're finally smart for once. That means, you didn't discover my plan at all? Black Rock trembled as he looked at the Rock Crypsis. Idiot. If we knew, would we eat Ghost Lantern? A group of Rock Crypsis shouted. Black Rock covered his chest, his eyes widened, and finally fell straight to the ground. Did we anger this guy to death? Asma asked, dumbfounded. Yamanaka and Noichi pondered for a moment, took out a kunai and shot it at Kuroshiki's heart. Chi. Blackstone sat up in shock, and then he really died. Red opened her mouth in surprise. Was he faking his death? Garashi warned with a mature face. Never underestimate any ninja, even if he's just an idiot. Asma nodded thoughtfully. I understand. After saying that, he directly used the grand fireball technique to scatter the ashes of the black stone. I switched back to my original body and dealt with the rest of the Rock Crypsis ninjas. Yamanaka and Noichi looked at Wuwei. Do you want to go back to Woodleaf with us? If I go to Woodleaf, it will be difficult to become the leader of Kusagakure with a neutral identity in the future. At least, before I become the leader, I must not expose my inclination. Thinking of this, Wuwei firmly refused. No need. Red looked at him in surprise. But if you stay here, won't you be suspected by Rock Crypsis? Wuwei looked indifferent. Don't worry, the seal in my body is the best evidence. Asma frowned. But how are you going to explain to Rock Crypsis why you're the only one who survived? How about? Asuma asked eagerly. Let's beat you up and make you seriously injured? Wuwei's cold face was about to collapse. No, it's not difficult to explain. As long as I tell Rock Crypsis that my fire prison imprisons the chakra of the prisoners of Hozuki City, if I die, the prisoners here will take the opportunity to riot. You were threatened by me with this reason to let me go. As long as I explain it like this, and with the seal in my body, Rock Crypsis won't doubt it after all. Wuwei's eyes swept across several people. Woodleaf is famous for being soft-hearted in this regard. Asma blinked, and put himself in their shoes. It seems that they really will do this. Shushi pondered for a moment. After all, 2 jonin died this time, and it's impossible for the Rock Village to not do anything about it. Well, I'll give you another seal to avoid Jinjutsu torture. If anyone from the Rock Village asks, you can just blame it all on that black rock. P.S. It's not that you're immune to Jinjutsu, but you can't use Jinjutsu to torture information. Yamanaka Inoichi also added, after returning this time, I will immediately ask Naruto-sama to transfer some ninjas to the Kusanagi country. With our people as witnesses, Rock Crypsis can't target the neutral Kusanagi country too much. Wuwei pursed his lips. I know. If the war really breaks out, I will try to pass the information to you. Garashi shook his head slightly. His voice was very sincere. At this stage, it's still important to ensure your own safety. Remember, we're not fighting for the present, but for the future. Wuwei took a deep breath and nodded vigorously. That agreement, I will do it. On the way back. This mission was exciting. Even 2 Rock Crypsis jonin died. Asma sighed. But I don't feel like I participated. Hongshin nodded in agreement. I feel like the most effort I made was to kill some robbers on the way. Compared to their relaxed and happy mood, Yamanaka Inoichi seemed to have a lot on his mind. War. Kazekage. If Naruto-sama asks, what should I say? On the side, Asma sighed and then whispered to Garashi. Garashi, what's the agreement between you and Wuwei-senpai? Tell me. I promise I won't tell. Garashi smiled softly. There's nothing that can't be said. It's just an agreement to become the leader of each village. And then, become the leader. Asma screamed and saw Yamanaka Inoichi and Kurenai looking at him. His face was bitter, and he immediately slapped himself. Garashi smiled helplessly. Didn't I say that there's no need to do this? That won't do. I'm a stubborn and principled man. Asma muttered as he touched his slightly swollen cheek. By the way, you haven't finished yet. Garashi said leisurely. Then we'll guard the peace together. Yamanaka Inoichi was a little surprised. I didn't expect that Kusanagi boy to have such a tolerance. Garashi shook his head slightly. He's not the kind of person who is afraid of death. The best way to persuade someone like him to change his decision is to let him agree with my beliefs. Fortunately, I did it. Hearing this, Asma suddenly reacted. No, Garashi, don't you want to be the greatest medical ninja? Why are you fighting with me for Naruto? There's no conflict between the two, right? Garashi smiled and sighed. I've learned one thing from my growth over the years. The ability of medical ninja is limited. Medical skills alone can't change the world. Asma's eyes were burning with flames. Even if my opponent is Garashi, I won't lose. Kurenai glanced at him. Your battle with Garashi, no matter in which aspect, has maintained a record of 0 win rate. Ah, I don't want to hear it. Become Naruto? Yes, after this incident, there's no way to treat him as a child. Yamanaka Inoichi watched quietly, and inexplicably had a bold idea in his heart. Or ask Garashi's opinion? Chapter 91. Ahem. Yamanaka Inoichi habitually cleared his throat. Well, Garashi, what do you think of the current situation? Asma whispered. Is it my illusion? I always feel that Yamanaka-sensei suddenly became wretched. Kurenai nodded in agreement. Just like yesterday, when Yamanaka-sensei asked us about the contents of the Psychology Society. Garashi pondered a little and said, if the news of Kazekage's disappearance is true, and war is unavoidable, then the entry point of the war is likely to be San Crypsis. The first possibility is that most of the people in San Crypsis are now in a panic. In order to divert the village's internal contradictions, the temporary Kazekage may use this as an excuse to start a war. The second possibility is that without the leadership of Kazekage, San Crypsis is in chaos, and is at its weakest moment. It is likely to be coveted by a big country, and will take advantage of the chaos to launch an attack. Yamanaka Inoichi rubbed his chin. I prefer the former. After all, the only big villages around Sand Crypsis are Rock Crypsis and Woodleaf. Our Woodleaf has never taken the initiative to start a war, and Rock Crypsis is against us because of this incident. It is unlikely to make enemies with Sand Crypsis at the same time. Garashi's eyes were heavy. In his previous life, there was not much description of the beginning of the Third Shinobi World War, so even he could not make an accurate judgment about it. And from our Woodleaf's point of view, the outbreak of war now is actually very dangerous, Garashi said inside. As those Rock Crypsis said, our Woodleaf senses in war are indeed dull. Yamanaka Inoichi looked dignified. Not to mention the preparation and mobilization for war. There are not many people who have a premonition of war vigilance. The outbreak of war in this case is undoubtedly very unfavorable to Woodleaf's situation. As if seeing the clouds of war, Asma couldn't help but be nervous. How long before the war breaks out? It might never erupt, or it might erupt tomorrow. The sadness between Yamanaka and Inoichi's eyebrows lingered. In short, there's not much time left for us Woodleaf. Garashi crossed his arms and pondered for a moment. So my idea is to postpone the detonation of the war slightly. Yamanaka Inoichi hurriedly asked. Is there any way to do this? Garashi exhaled heavily. Let's unite all the ninja villages and have a grand Chunin exam. Haha, Woodleaf, your future Naruto is back. Asma shouted as soon as he returned to Woodleaf. Garashi and Red stood a little further away from him, worried that others would see that they were together. Yamanaka Inoichi was still immersed in shock and thought, so he didn't care. Garashi read, I'm going to report the mission to Lord Naruto. You two can find a place to rest. After that he left with a heavy heart. It's rare to see Yamanaka-sensei so heavy. Knowing this kind of thing, it's inevitable to be a little worried. Anyway, what happens next has nothing to do with us. Garashi smiled and invited. What you have to think about now is where to go for dinner later. Barbecue restaurant. Ramen restaurant. What do you know, barbecue is a man's romance. Humph. Then I'll say ramen is a woman's tenderness. The three laughed all the way. And as soon as they walked into the gourmet street, they heard a familiar noise in front of them. Bastard Kakashi, you're not allowed to steal my mission target. Oh, damn, what does O mean? Bordered Soil was furious, and someone's teasing voice suddenly came from behind. I guess Kakashi must want to say that Bordered Soil is too slow or something. I'm obviously very fast. Bordered Soil turned back angrily and instantly became happy. Garashi-sensei, you're back? Kakashi and Rin also turned back happily. Garashi-sensei. Asma, who was ignored again, was almost depressed. He rolled his eyes and took the initiative to ask. By the way, Bordered Soil, did you just come back from a mission? Looking at you, you should have completed a very difficult mission, right? Bordered Soil wiped his nose and smiled proudly. We completed a B-level mission. Wow, that's amazing. Asma was very doggy-flattering. Bordered Soil was still too naive, completely unaware of the danger approaching. Instead, he touched the back of his head embarrassedly. Actually, it's okay, it's just SO. By the way, what level of mission did you complete? Oh, we can't do it, we're not even sure about the level of the mission. But, Asma said with a sad face, killing 2 Rock Crypsis Jonin and dozens of Chunin and Genin, it's just so. Puffed. Not only Bordered Soil, but even the cold Kakashi spat out. What's the situation? 2 Jonin? And they're not just Jonin from a small ninja village. If you add the dozens of Chunin and Genin that Asma said, just in terms of the scale of the enemy, it's already the standard of an S-level mission, right? Asma was still not satisfied. He smacked his lips and said, although we killed quite a lot of enemies, but the result doesn't seem to be much. It's just making a country that has turned to Rock Crypsis to become neutral again. 2 Doggy. Looking at Asma's face, Bordered Soil and the other 2 cursed in their hearts. Seeing the three's face turn green, Asma's mood of being ignored finally became a little better. Speaking of which, my mission. Without waiting for him to finish, Kakashi rushed up with cold eyes. Would Leaf's secret body jutsu Millennium kill? Owa. After a bit of noise, everyone finally returned to a peaceful state. However, bordered soil, and the other two were still shocked. Garashi-senpai, did you really kill 2 rock Crypsis Jonins? Garashi waved his hand and smiled. It's not as exaggerated as Asma said. Those 2 rock Crypsis Jonins were set up to fight each other, and the last one was killed by us. Although Garashi said it lightly, bordered soil, and the other 2 understood the difficulty of it. Not to mention how to make 2 rock Crypsis Jonins fight to the death. Just killing the remaining Jonin, without any injuries, is already amazing enough. Not to mention, there were dozens of Chunin and Genin. Bordered soil bit his finger envious. Too powerful. I don't know when I can kill a Jonin? Kakashi's eyes were blazing with fighting spirit. Garashi, senpai has become more powerful. I also want to become stronger. Hehe, you know our. As Asuma spoke, he saw a few cold gazes directed at him. He hurriedly covered his tender buttocks, and didn't dare to tease them anymore. Ha ha ha, let's go eat together. Speaking of eating, bordered soil suddenly woke up. Right. I thought you couldn't make it back in time. So I forgot to say, Garashi-senpai. Our patriarch wants to invite you to his son's full moon celebration. Chapter 92. At the same time, in Naruto's office, Sandaime held the pipe in one hand and held his forehead with the other. You mean, most of Kusagakure has been infiltrated by rock Crypsis, and then you not only found out who betrayed with Leaf, but also killed 2 rock Crypsis Jonin? Yamanaka nodded and then added, there are also 5 Chunin and 27 Genin. Sandaime only felt his blood pressure rising a little, and he quickly calmed down. After a long while, the 3rd generation exclaimed in surprise, you guys have really given me a huge surprise, to the point that I'm starting to wonder if I'm dreaming. Yamanaka quickly said, this time we can have such a harvest, in fact it's all thanks to Garashi. Sandaime nodded slightly. Designing internal strife, swapping bodies. These operations really made an old man like me dazzled. However, what surprised me the most is that he was able to convince even those who hate Konoha from the bottom of their hearts. This kind of charisma, I have only seen it in Shodaime-sama. Saying that, he sighed again. I was worried that this task would be dangerous, but I didn't expect that you raised the difficulty of the task by 2 levels. And you didn't encounter any danger during the whole process. I can now imagine how Asuma will show off to me when he goes back. Yamanaka couldn't help but laugh. According to his understanding of Asuma, this kind of thing is indeed very likely. After all, this is an achievement that even Naruto-sama couldn't achieve. Sandaime laughed for a while, and his face became dignified again. As for the information you just mentioned about the disappearance of the Kazekage, in fact, the village has already received the news. What do you think about this? Yamanaka hesitated. This kind of thing, Shikaka should know better than me, right? Sandaime smiled. I also discussed with him. Now, I want to hear your opinion as the person involved in the task. Since Sandaime had already said this, Yamanaka Inoichi had no choice but to say the speculation that he had previously discussed with Shushi. War. This is indeed the eternal theme of this world. Sandaime sighed and took out a few documents from the drawer and put them in front of Yamanaka Inoichi. Take a look, these are some changes in other villages. Yamanaka Inoichi read carefully. At first he was calm, but when he saw the last document, his pupils shrank instantly. Yunin's army has started to move out frequently? Yamanaka Inoichi's face was very ugly. The closest big villages to Yunin are with Leaf and Kirin. However, Kirin is far away from the mainland. It is easy to defend and difficult to attack. The only one who can be a target is Arwood Leaf. Sandaime also shook his head with a bitter smile. We can't say that Yunin went for rock Crypsis or sand Crypsis, right? Yamanaka Inoichi hurriedly asked. Naruto-sama, where are our current war preparations? It's still the first stage. Sandaime looked sad, and his eyebrows twisted into a group. Whether it's armaments or drills, we are far inferior to Yunin. Alas, what we need most now is time. But the enemy won't give us time. Hearing this, Yamanaka and Noichi hesitated and asked, Naruto-sama, what if we hold a joint Chunin exam for all ninja villages? Joint Chunin exam? Sandame's eyebrows twitched. In addition to attracting the attention of all parties and delaying the outbreak of war, we can also use this Chunin exam to test the position of all countries, and at the same time declare force, and try to win over other small ninja villages as much as possible. Yamanaka and Noichi added. Sandame didn't immediately state his position, but said, suddenly proposing a Chunin exam at this time is likely to alert other villages, and most of them won't agree to our invitation. Yamanaka and Noichi nodded. So this can't be opened by us. Sandame finally got a little interested. Then, who do you think should propose it? Yamanaka and Noichi smiled. Naruto-sama, have you heard about the changes in Kirin's graduation exam this year? Sandame took a puff of his pipe. You mean the young man who killed all the candidates and forced Kirin to reform? Yes, I heard that his name is Momochi if you don't kill. Yamanaka and Noichi's mouth showed an evil smile. We can let the spies planted in Kirin encourage the high-level officials to hold the Chunin exam. The reason is that there may be a gap in the talents of Kirin. In order to balance the power of the villages, let the boy if you don't kill Momochi kill all the candidates of other villages in the Chunin exam. Sandame's eyes lit up, understanding Yamanaka and Noichi's idea. Kirin is far abroad, and it's impossible to hold the Chunin exam, and they should also understand this truth. As long as they can balance the power of the villages, most of them won't insist on this issue. Yamanaka and Noichi nodded. In this way, Kirin is just an advocate, and we can take the opportunity to take the initiative to be the organizer. Sandame pondered for a moment. But the other 3 villages can't sit back and watch Wood Leaf expand his influence. Yamanaka and Noichi solemnly said, so we may have to pay a little price. Price? Sandame quickly understood and blew a smoke ring. The only thing that can attract the other villages should be the precious legacy left by the former Kage, right? You want to say that part of the forbidden jutsu in the Book of Seals will be the reward for the Chunin exam? Yamanaka and Noichi added, if there is no seal, they can take back the reward. Otherwise, the other villages won't give in to the benefits that the young ninja in their village may get. Sandame smiled bitterly. Inoichi, you have given me a big problem. If they take away the forbidden jutsu, I won't have the face to see the former Kage. Sandame really has a headache. Even if he excludes the super dangerous forbidden jutsu like Edo Tensei, those relatively ordinary forbidden jutsu will be very troublesome to spread. Not to mention, Danzo will definitely use this to attack and force him to give up his position. According to the information we have received, in recent years, there have been several very powerful newcomers in other villages, but Yamanaka and Noichi shrugged. Compared with them, our Wood Leaf is cheating. Sandame smiled knowingly. That's right. Asking Garashi to take the Chunin exam can no longer be described as excessive. It's simply shameless. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity that Kakashi was promoted to Chunin at the age of 6. Otherwise, we can let the other villages feel the enthusiasm of our Wood Leaf. Yamanaka and Noichi's eyes twitched wildly. Naruto-sama, you don't want to be a human anymore? Seeing Sandame's tendency to let go of himself, Yamanaka and Noichi quickly patched it up. In fact, our main purpose is to delay the war. If we can't be the organizer, it will only have some impact on the small ninja villages. Sandame waved his hand indifferently. I still have the courage to use the Book of Seals, and I also believe that the child Garashi won't let me down. Now the biggest problem is how to make Kirin believe that if you don't kill has the ability to kill all the candidates. Or just brag about it. If it doesn't work, we can join forces with the Sand Crypsis to launch the Chunin exam. They should need time like us now. Chapter 93. Uchiha Clan. It was very lively outside, but it was very quiet inside. Yagadame-sama, you should have also noticed the aura of war, right? I wasn't sure at first, but since Patriarch said so, then it seems inevitable. Fugaka said with a dignified expression. As the most powerful clan in the Woodleaf Empire, it is inevitable for us to participate in the war. And I don't oppose it. But I am worried that someone will use this opportunity to suppress our clan. Hakudame-sama squinted his eyes. Is it the one who claims to have continued the will of second Naruto? Fugaka couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seems that Danzo's malice towards our clan has reached the point where he doesn't even bother to hide it. Hakudame-sama shook his head slightly. Even if we know, there is nothing we can do, Patriarch, what do you think? Fugaka pondered for a moment. Although it is a bit unreasonable to say this, I still propose to focus on protecting the younger generation of the clan who awakened the Sharingan. Hakudame-sama nodded in agreement. The Kekkai Genkai is the foundation of a clan, like the Kurama clan. It is because the younger generation who awakened their Kekkai Genkai is getting fewer and fewer. That's why they are gradually declining. Speaking of the Kurama clan, Fugaka said with some emotion, last time when I was taking care of Mikoto in the hospital, I happened to meet the patriarch of the Kurama clan. His child was born a few days earlier than Itachi, but there was no movement in the village. Hakudame-sama also sighed. A declining clan, no one will care about it. That's why we have to try our best to preserve the foundation of the clan. Fugaka looked outside. My idea is to let the younger generation of the clan who awakened their Sharingan join the ranks of those who are kind to our clan, or those who are neutral. Hakudame-sama suddenly realized. So, you invited so many guests today to test their position? Fugaka sighed. I can't think of a good way in a short time. I can only say that we should avoid Danzo as much as possible. Hakudame-sama nodded. I will go with you to observe the attitude of others. Both of them were a little depressed. The Uchiha clan that was once famous during the Warring States period has now fallen to the point of being scared by a mummy. Seeing the atmosphere was a little dull, Hakudame-sama jokingly said. But is it really good to do this? If you treat a newborn Itachi as a tool, be careful that he will take revenge on you in the future. Fugaka laughed carelessly. Haha, we are clearly a father and a son who is filial. Hakudai also laughed. Hurry up and go out. It's not right for you to stay in the house all the time. Outside, the children sat at a table by themselves. Tell me about it, tell me about it. Obito tugged at Shushi's sleeve and begged with a pitiful look on his face. Garashi calmly pulled out his sleeve and said helplessly, You should ask Asuma about the details. He will be happy to tell you. The image of Asuma's huge dog's smile appeared in front of the bordered soil. The corner of his mouth twitched. Forget it. Shionyen, on the other hand, was howling madly from the side. Awa, too powerful, really too powerful. Seeing Shionyen almost transformed on the spot, Hakudame-sama, who was walking out with Fugaku, came over with a black face and slapped him on the back of his head. Pay attention to the ending. Don't lose face for the patriarch. Shionyen, who was interrupted, turned back with a wronged face. Am I not excited? Hakudame-sama said angrily. You are a Chunin, can't you be more calm like Garashi? Shionyen whispered. What's wrong with being a Chunin? Even 2 Chunin were killed by Garashi. Hakudame-sama's eyes widened. What did you say? Shionyen winked provocatively. Calm Chunin. Ouch, why did you hit me again? Hakudame-sama looked calm. I have double standards, what's wrong? Shunien instantly retreated. Well, it's Shushi who killed 2 Jonins of the Rock Village, and dozens of Chunin and Genin during this mission. Well, he is indeed the man I admire. Hakudame-sama and Fugaka looked at each other, and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They knew that Yamanaka Inoichi was not the kind of Chunin with strong combat power. In other words, this result was mostly related to Garashi's team, and in their view, Asuma and Kurenai were still a little immature. In this way, only Garashi could create a miracle. Thinking of this, Fugaka couldn't help but sigh. It's a pity that you are too young, Garashi. Otherwise, I would ask you to be Itachi's godfather. Hearing this, Garashi couldn't help but twitch his mouth. This guy with thick eyebrows and big eyes actually wants to harm me. It was night when the banquet ended. Shushi returned to his room and sat cross-legged on his bed. His eyes were shining brightly. Sure enough, this is what I'm lacking. With the experience of switching bodies as a reference, this last hurdle won't hold me back. Thinking of this, Garashi closed his eyes. The next moment, a pure white spiritual body floated out from the top of his head. Is this the soul state? The spiritual body floated back and forth in the air curiously. Then it looked at its body that seemed to have fallen asleep. This feeling is indeed wonderful. After a little adapting to this state, Garashi's spiritual body returned to his body. Like a small fish that jumped out of the sea and fell back into the sea, comfortable and peaceful. With my most powerful soul talent, years of training in Genjutsu, and Kato Duan's experience, and 5 months of training, plus this last personal experience, I finally succeeded. Garashi exhaled and shook his head gently. Sure enough, any S-class ninjutsu is not so easy to learn. However, with the spiritualization technique, I can finally covet that ability. Garashi's eyes were slightly burning. With his current strength, the spiritualization technique can't bring any increase in combat power. However, he never valued the spiritualization technique because of its combat power, but because of the development of the ability attached to the spiritualization technique. Wait, let's calm down first. Don't be impatient. Wait until I fully adapt to the spiritualization technique before moving on to the next step. Garashi muttered to himself, and his eyes returned to the calm state of an ancient well. Many plans were aborted at the last moment before they succeeded. Of course, he wouldn't make such a mistake. After half an hour of adapting to the new environment and setting up a barrier around him, Rinstone returned to his spirit form and looked around. In my previous life's memory, the soul can also be seen by others. Although it's troublesome for safety's sake, it's better to go underground. Thinking of this, Garashi no longer hesitated and jumped into the ground. In his spiritual body state, he naturally wouldn't be obstructed by the rocks and soil. The only problem he had to consider was the direction. Fortunately, he had already memorized the layout of the Woodleaf clan. The speed at which the spirit body moved was extremely fast. It was as if the spirit body could move at will. Not long after, he arrived at his destination, the Pommel clan's land. This once famous Woodleaf clan had gradually declined under the baptism of time. Garashi didn't care about this. His spiritual body flashed and moved into a warm room. On the bed, a couple had already fallen asleep. On the side of the bed, there was a small cradle. Garashi no longer hesitated, and his spiritual body flew into the baby's body in the cradle. In the next moment, the sleeping baby opened her eyes. This is the Pommel clan's bloodline limit? It's really magical. Using the baby girl's body, Shushi was able to sense the potential and power of this blood inheritance. Next, it's time to analyze and deduce the composition of this bloodline limit. He valued the spiritualization technique for this reason. With the experience of personally using it, it was equivalent to seeing the whole process of the derivation in front of him. I hope that I can complete this bloodline limit before the war ends. Otherwise, some of my ideas won't be easy to realize. Chapter 94. Kirin. Looking at the thick fog in the sky, San and Shangqing closed the door and windows in disgust. Sigh, when will this end? San and Shangqing sighed and began his routine work. Summoning technique. The next moment, a pug appeared at his feet. The pug glanced at him. After confirming that there was no mistake, it spat out the paper tube in its mouth. Oh, the village finally remembered me. San and Shangqing was excited. He carefully picked up the paper tube, spread it out, quickly memorized it, and quickly burned the paper. Then he frowned and sat on the chair. Spread rumors? If you don't kill Momochi? Although Kirin is overseas and not well informed, it's still difficult to make them believe that if you don't kill is invincible. After thinking for a moment, San and Shangqing had a flash of inspiration. First, let's use if you don't kill Momochi to warm up the atmosphere. Then I'll assassinate him, fake my death, and finally spread the news that Woodleaf is afraid of him. In this way, the anger of their own village's genius being assassinated, coupled with the desire to suppress other villages, maybe Kirin will think that the Chunin exam is a good choice. Thinking of this, San and Shangqing quickly arranged his own fake death to escape. Well, finally, I can leave this damn place. A few days later, if you don't kill, who was walking on the street as usual, found that the eyes of the people around him changed a lot. He's if you don't kill Momochi? The bastard who killed my brother in the graduation exam? Keep your voice down, he's a monster proficient in silent assassination. I heard that he's going to kill again in the Chunin exam. Humph. This kind of monster should go to other villages as soon as possible. Yeah, if he can kill ninjas from other villages in the Chunin exam, he'll be a little useful. If you don't kill stopped and looked at them coldly. The murderous intent almost froze the blood of the villagers, and they fled in panic. A bunch of trash. If you don't kill whispered contemptuously while licking his dry lips. But the Chunin exam? At this moment his heart throbbed, and he subconsciously dodged to the side. Boom! A flame dragon almost brushed past his body, and blasted a hole in the ground. Assassination? If you don't kill was not afraid. Instead, there was a faint excitement in his eyes. Water release, chaotic water wave. Seeing the turbulent water rushing towards him, Mikami was slightly surprised. He can use a C-class ninjutsu so skillfully. If you don't kill seems to be very powerful. But this is good. This way, I won't have to waste any extra effort to prove his talent. Min Shangqing knew that Kirin's dark unit would arrive soon. If he didn't hurry up, he would really die. Therefore, according to his original plan, he deliberately used the most beautiful ninjutsu to prove his strength. Fire release, fire dragon flame bullet. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. Are you kidding me? A 9-year-old kid can use a B-class ninjutsu? Min Shangqing's eyes widened, and he almost screamed. This is also because he has been away from home all year round. He didn't know that wood leaf was even worse than this. At this moment, seeing the ferocious water dragon rushing towards him, Min Shangqing's face instantly turned pale. I was worried about accidentally killing him, so I deliberately changed the direction of the ninjutsu. He can't even use a ninjutsu accurately. Is this idiot coming to die? If you don't kill's eyes were cold, and his hands quickly printed. Water release, water tooth bullet. Another B-class ninjutsu. Are the kids these days so exaggerated? Min Shangqing, who just escaped from the water dragon, saw 2 highly compressed and rotating sharp teeth coming towards him, and he didn't have time to think about it. If I underestimate this kid again, I may really die. Fire release, fire dragon technique. The water and fire collided, and a scorching hot fog instantly rose. The fog shrouded the surroundings. If you don't kill simply burst out all the chakra in his body at once. Silent killing. What the hell is that? Min Shangqing saw a ghostly dark red stream of air flashing through the thick fog, and his hair was a little numb. No, I have to run for my life. But he just took half a step. If you don't kill judged his position from the sound. Ah! A painful scream came from the thick fog, and the villagers in the distance were scared for a while. When the thick fog dispersed, the umbu who came late saw the situation inside. In the ground of minced meat, if you don't kill stood there quietly, and his face was a little gloomy. This is Wood Leaf's forehead protector. A sharp-eyed umbu picked up a forehead protector from the minced meat. It's Wood Leaf's people. If you don't kill, did you see the enemy's face? If you don't kill looked at him coldly, and turned away without saying a word. The Hidden Fog Dark Group member who asked the question was furious. This bastard, does he really think he's some big shot? The umbu on the side pulled him. Being assassinated, I guess this guy is not happy. Another umbu also said. In any case, he killed a Wood Leaf spy, and it seems that he's not an ordinary chunin. Let's go report to Mizukichi-sama first. In the distance under the rock wall, Sanyuan Shangqing, who was covered in blood, was sweating profusely. Trembling, he grabbed a handful of blood-increasing pills, and threw them into his mouth. After a long time, his pale face had a little color. That was close. If I didn't let Xiaohei hear my voice, maybe I would have died in the hands of a genin. At the same time, Min Shangqing was worried. Although I was careless, this kid is really powerful. Naruto. Sama shouldn't have misjudged, right? If he really appeared in the Chunin exam, it would be a complete massacre against our Wood Leaf's genin. Soon, Wood Leaf's forehead protector and Min Shangqing's previous residence were sent to the Mizukichi. Kimura Kazuki. It should be a fake name. The Mizuki's face was gloomy as he looked around. Lurking for so long without being discovered. Your intelligence is really slow. The umbu around him bowed their heads in shame. However, a spy lurking for so long exposed himself for if you don't kill. The Mizuki narrowed his eyes and asked, "What do you think?" An umbu replied, "Maybe if you don't kill," said that he would kill everyone in the Chunin exam. That would Leaf Ninja is worried that we will hold the Chunin exam? Maybe. The Mizuki emphasized his tone. Confirmed. The umbu who spoke was depressed. That guy didn't cooperate at all. He could only take it as a yes. Another umbu also said, "According to the intelligence, Sandame Naruto's son also graduated this year. Maybe Wood Leaf is worried that if you don't kill we'll meet him?" Another umbu said, "Our genin was killed by if you don't kill. Why not take this opportunity to suppress the genin of other villages?" Speaking of this, the other umbu suddenly became active. Yes, if you don't kill can even kill Wood Leaf's special jonin. It will definitely be a massacre against the genin of other villages. If there is an important person like Naruto's son in the Chunin exam, we may be able to threaten other villages to get resources. The Mizuki didn't speak. Only the sound of his fingers tapping on the table echoed in the room. After a long time he said indifferently, "Well, it's time to let the ninja world remember the horror of Kirin." Chapter 95. Yunin. The Reikage held his head with one hand and tapped on the document with the other. Kirin proposed to hold the joint Chunin exam. What do you think about this? As a trusted aide of the Reikage, Sudai said after a moment of silence. Maybe it's to strengthen the influence of Kirin. They're far away from the 5 great villages, and they're almost removed from the list of the 5 great villages. On the other side, the alternate Reikage AI, who has inherited the title of Reikage, said, "Then let's hold it. Yunin is definitely the strongest in the ninja world." The surrounding jonins nodded heavily. In their view, Wood Leaf is old and weak, Rock Crypsis is timid and cowardly, Sand Crypsis is weak and arrogant, Kirin is remote and backward, and the 4 great villages are not worth mentioning. Only Yunin should be thriving and become the center of the world. The Reikage nodded. I think so too. Before the war, we should declare our strength. At least let those small countries see who's the boss of the world. Now the question is, who should hold the Chunin exam? As soon as his voice fell, the jonins in the room discussed fiercely. Of course, it should be held by our Yunin. Are you an idiot? What if other villages take this opportunity to inquire about our military strength? Wood Leaf seems to have also made a request. No, even if we don't hold it, we can't give it to Wood Leaf. But the rewards they offered are very tempting. They also said that we can hold it, but we must offer the same level of rewards. Are you kidding me? Our Yunin has always been a one-way ticket. Enough. The Reikage raised his right hand and motioned them to be quiet. Send someone to tell Wood Leaf that I agree to their request. Reikage-sama, this. Oh, Wood Leaf is in a hurry to give us a gift, then I have to accept it. The Reikage said and looked to the side. Sudai, let Yuki graduate early. Two Tai's eyes lit up. You want to? Although she's only 8 years old. A Jinchuriki is still a Jinchuriki. The Reikage laughed wildly. If you encounter an enemy you can't beat, just let her break the seal. Tutai said in shock. Remove the seal? What if second last escapes? The Reikage laughed. That's something Wood Leaf has to worry about. Since he wants to be the organizer, he has to take some risks. At worst, we can thank Wood Leaf for his efforts. The surrounding jonins looked at him with admiration, as he was worthy of being the Reikage-sama. Although he looked boorish and irritable, he was actually very cunning. San Crypsis. How is it? Is there still no news from Kazekage-sama? Old C asked in a deep voice. Raza, the temporary Kazekage, shook his head. However, the Kazekage is the strongest Kage in the history of our San Crypsis. With his strength he won't die so easily. I hope so. Our San Crypsis is now a joke in the shinobi world, Chiyo said faintly. Although it's a bit unreasonable to say this. Ebizo looked around at everyone in the room. But if we continue to search, it will only make the defense force become understaffed. And in the current situation of the shinobi world, It's really not a wise decision. Hearing what he said, the jonins of the original Kazekage faction were furious. Old C, what do you mean by this? If you say this, don't tell me that you and your brother assassinated the Kazekage. Yes, Chiyo, your genius grandson seems to have disappeared. Maybe you were worried about your assassination, so you deliberately sent him away. Raza, say something. Raza was a little helpless. From a rational point of view, he naturally agreed with Old C's proposal. But from a reasonable point of view, as the temporary Kazekage, if he gave up looking for the former Kazekage, what would others think of him? Sand Crypsis is bound to have internal conflicts. Seeing the quarrel between the two sides getting more and more intense, Raza had to use his power as the Kazekage. That's enough, quiet down. If you still recognize me as the temporary Kazekage, seeing the others looking at him, Raza said seriously, the current situation is not optimistic for us, and we don't have time to quarrel over such meaningless things. First, the mission of searching for the third Kazekage will continue. Second, agree to Kirin's proposal for the joint Chunin exam. After the tense situation calmed down, Raza further added, the news of Kazekage-sama's disappearance is estimated to be known by all the villages. If we give up the search easily, it will only make the other villages look down on us and see how weak we are. Of course, Old C-senpai's question is also very pertinent. The key is time, and what we lack is time. And Kirin's proposal for the joint Chunin exam just meets our current needs. All the jonins nodded in agreement. Although Raza is young, his ability is really outstanding. Raza, who are you going to take the Chunin exam as the team leader? Let Marky go. Although he's not the top genius, he graduated a few years ago. In terms of experience in actual combat, he's not comparable to ordinary genin. Well, even if we want to delay time, we can't lose momentum. Rock Crypsis, tell me what's going on. Anoki's face was very ugly. All the jonins looked at each other, and finally, Hokage stood up and said, Tsuchikage-sama, it's indeed as the Kusanagi said. There are traces of a fierce battle with Kurwashi on Yongdo's body. Even if there were Yamanaka ninjas present, it's absolutely impossible to control a jonin for such a long time. In addition, we also found some of Kurwashi's previous movements, so he probably really betrayed Rock Crypsis. They didn't doubt Wu-Wei, but the conclusion showed that he didn't lie. After all, Wu-Wei was telling the truth in a sense. A traitor ruined dozens of our elites, and most of our plans in Kusanagi. It's simply unforgivable. Anoki gritted his teeth and cursed. If not for the fact that Blackstone was so dead that not even his ashes were left, he would have wanted to use dust escape on Blackstone's corpse. The group of jonins were also furious and started cursing. Anoki was silent for a while, and then raised his hand to stop them. Well, let's let this matter be sealed forever. If we continue to make trouble, we will only be laughed at by other villages. After a pause, Anoki asked, what do you think about the joint Chunin exam? Magic Leech said, I think it's okay to use this as a reason to divert the internal conflicts of the village. Oishi also nodded. After all, dozens of families lost their loved ones because of a traitor. The impact is too bad. As for Woodleaf's proposal, they may want to take the opportunity to expand their influence in those small countries. After all, there are 9 small countries bordering them. Hokuto calmly analyzed. However, this won't have much impact on Rock Crypsis. At the same time, there are 3 countries bordering us and Woodleaf, the Rain Country, the Grass Country, and the Waterfall Country. The Rain Country has Hanzo the Salamander, and Kusanagi is still biased towards us, so the only loss for the organizers is the Waterfall Country. On the other hand, we can use this to find out the real situation of Woodleaf and their military distribution. Besides, didn't they also give out a reward? No matter how you look at it, we won't lose. Anoki pondered for a moment. Tell Woodleaf that we agree. Chapter 96. Woodleaf Hospital. Ah, Tachikamaru, bear with it. In the ward, a big orange dog was lying on the bed and whining in pain. Only when a tall ninja approached it did it manage to remain calm. The tall ninja gently stroked its hair and glanced at the dark green wound on the dog's abdomen. His eyes were full of pain and self-blame. Inazuki-san, please try to keep it calm. Yeah, we can't check it at all. The surrounding medical ninjas were helpless. They were almost bitten when they tried to get close. If they applied medicine to it, wouldn't they be torn apart? Inazuka also knew their difficulties and didn't blame them. He just kept comforting Tachikamaru. At this time, a reassuring voice came from outside the door. Sorry, Garashi, I used Flying Thunder God to rush you here. It's okay. Saving people is the duty of a medical ninja. Garashi and Minato walked in side by side. Minato smiled awkwardly. Haha, what if it's to save a dog? Garashi also saw the situation in the ward at this moment and said helplessly, It seems that I can only temporarily act as a veterinarian. After saying that, Shushi walked up to the table without looking back. Wait, be careful. Before Inazuka could finish his words, he saw his dog whimper under the touch of the child and betrayed him. What's going on? Inazuka's jaw was at a loss. His Tachikamaru was the most irritable among the ninja dogs, and now it was injured. How could it be so docile to a child it met for the first time? Garashi smiled apologetically. Unrelated personnel. Please leave temporarily. Inazuka's jaw pointed to himself. Me unrelated personnel? Minato next to him hugged him and dragged him away. Garashi rest assured. Outside the door, Inazuka's jaw was still a little worried. Minato, is this okay? After all, he just heard the child say that he was a temporary veterinarian. Minato smiled. Don't worry, Garashi is Tsunade-sama's proud disciple. Inazuka's jaw's eyes lit up. He's Shimizu Garashi? I heard that his medical skills are almost second only to Tsunade-sama. Minato patted him on the shoulder. This is your chance to make friends with Garashi. Don't blame me for not telling you. Inazuka's jaw nodded emotionally. In this thorny ninja world, it's really important to have a good relationship with a powerful medical ninja. I will definitely. Creak. The door opened and Garashi walked out. Inazuka's jaw hurriedly asked, Dr. Garashi, how is Tachikamaru's condition? Have your injuries stabilized? Garashi said calmly, It's done. Inazuka's jaw was dumbfounded. That's it. That's a powerful poison concocted by San Cripsis Jonin. Garashi smiled and pointed at the room. Why don't we go in and take a look? All right. Inazuka's jaw was about to rush in, but he forced himself to stop and bowed 90 degrees. Thank you very much. Garashi smiled slightly. This is the most comfortable place for a top medical ninja. He doesn't need to worry at all. There will be a large group of people rushing to give him experience. After the experience, he can also gain their gratitude. Minato was still a little apologetic. I'm sorry for pulling you here in such a hurry. Garashi smiled helplessly. Brother Minato, we don't have to talk about our relationship, right? Of course, next time, let's make things clear in advance. Seeing you so nervous, I thought something happened to Shina-kushina. Nei-san. Minato laughed twice. Inazuka-san has always taken care of me. Tachikamaru was poisoned to cover us. Shushi took note of the message. A temporary team? Minato nodded, looking a little depressed. This time we have a team of 3 jonins. It's reasonable to say that there shouldn't be too much of a problem. But who knew? As soon as we sneaked in, we encountered more than a dozen jonins from San Cripsis. If it weren't for the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, we wouldn't have been able to come back this time. Garashi was a little speechless. It seems that this can't be described as bad luck. However, sneaking in at this time, Naruto, Sama wants you to find out if San Cripsis has found Kazekage? Probably. Minato replied casually and suddenly reacted. Garashi, how do you know Kazekage? We just learned a little inside information from the last mission. So, Minato was talking when Asuma ran all the way from a distance. Garashi, big news, big news. Hey Minato-san, you're here too? Looking at Asuma's rash appearance, Minato's eyes were a little strange. Should I say that this is the product of Naruto, Sama? Asuma didn't care about Minato's reaction and said excitedly, the other 4 villages have agreed, and 11 of those small countries have confirmed to participate. In other words, this may be the largest Chunin exam since the era of shinobi villages. Asuma shouted with pride. And this is the Chunin exam held by Wood Leaf. Sandaime actually agreed to use those jutsu as a reward. Garashi wasn't surprised that Sandaime agreed to the proposal of the Chunin exam. After all, this is indeed beneficial to Wood Leaf's current situation. What surprised him was that Sandaime actually had the courage to use forbidden jutsu as a stake. If he accidentally used a few of the jutsu handed down by Nidaime Naruto, even if it's advantageous from a macro-strategic point of view, he would definitely be criticized by Danzo. For me now, strengthening my body and increasing the upper limit of chakra are the most important things. I already have enough jutsu, unless it's a jutsu that controls the 5 senses. I don't need to spend too much energy on ordinary jutsu. My need for the Scroll of Seals is just to enrich my knowledge and prepare for the development of Kekkei Genkai in the future. Compared to the reward, I actually value the Chunin exam more, Garashi said with some emotion. He's too young, and the limitation of his age will be the biggest stumbling block for him to achieve his dreams. So, I want to become famous as soon as possible, and use this Chunin exam as a starting point for me to truly step on the stage of Shinobi World. Thinking of this, Garashi's calm mind couldn't help but have a little wave. As for the assassination targets after becoming famous, he doesn't care. And he's even happy to have more of them. With the support of the Flying Thunder God Jutsu and his own medical ninjutsu, there are still many people in the world who can defeat him. But there are almost no people who can completely kill him. Not to mention, his trump cards are far more than just these two. On the side, Asuma waved his arm discontentedly. Huh? Are you listening to me, Shushi? Garashi smiled apologetically. Sorry. I was also shocked by the scene you described. Asuma patted him on the shoulder. Then you have to listen carefully this time. The old man said. Let you cough. He said that one of us must win first place. Chapter 97. In Shinakushina's house. Ah. Why did I become a Chunin so early? I missed such a good opportunity to show my face. Schwenin-san, don't regret it. No one will care about the stars when there is a sun. Damn it. I should be the moon, right? Impossible. Of course the moon is me, Asuma. Don't quarrel. Aren't we here to analyze the strength of the major ninja villages? That being said, everyone was noisy, and there was no worry or pressure. In their view, there is no one who can be stronger than Garashi in the Genin stage. There are a total of 24 ninjas in Kirin village. If you don't kill, Empress Shomiai. Kurenai analyzed seriously, and seeing Garashi's expression was a little strange. She couldn't help but ask, Is there a problem, Garashi? Garashi smiled gently. It's nothing, you continue to analyze. Kurenai nodded her head. Naruto, Sama said that this information is not completely accurate, but according to the existing information, the most threatening ninja in Kirin is if you don't kill. Oh, if you don't kill is now more famous than the future Mizukichi? Garashi only felt a little funny, but then he understood. The current Empress Shomiai probably hasn't developed her own Kekkei Genkai yet. After all, although Kirin is not as dark as the fourth Mizukichi after the dark-bordered soil, the prejudice against Kekkei Genkai still exists because of its remote and backward background. If Empress Shomiai was born with 2 Kekkei Genkai, then her life in Kirin will definitely not be easy. Beside him, Kurenai was still seriously analyzing. As for Yunin, there are a total of 66 ninjas. They are the 2 Yuki Samui. Hearing this familiar name, Shushi's attention was also diverted. Of course, he wasn't focused because of a future ferocious woman. Second last, is Yunin trying to cheat because she can't win? Looking at the information that Sandaime had specifically given her, Red was a little surprised. Isn't Yunin being too aggressive this time? It seemed that many people were forced to graduate early. However, they don't seem to have any particularly amazing genin here. Garashi shook his head slightly. In his opinion, the biggest threat to the Chunin exam should be the Yuki. In the genin stage, Jinchuriki is completely unreasonable. But this is good. Garashi chuckled in his heart. The boring Chunin exam doesn't have anything to talk about. I can't be the only one singing a one-man show. Kurenai's analysis fast-forwarded to San Cripsis, There are 30 participants in San Crypsis. Among them, the most important one to pay attention to is a ninja named Marky. He is originally a genius in San Crypsis, and he is 3 years older than us. Garashi's eyes fluctuated slightly. Indeed, it was another acquaintance. Finally, there are 45 participants in Rock Crypsis. They are Purple Earth Thunder. Garashi was really surprised when he heard the last part. There doesn't seem to be any acquaintances on Rock Crypsis' side. Did all the geniuses die in the future war? Or did they not have any geniuses at all? That's it. After listening to the analysis, Asma shouted confidently, "There aren't many who can fight at all. I, invincible under the rock, have already scheduled to meet Garashi in the finals." Ibixi glanced at him. "What if you and Garashi meet in the qualifiers?" Asma was dumbfounded. This. Kurenai covered her mouth and chuckled. "Of course it's to defeat Garashi. I remember someone said 4 years ago that he could defeat Garashi in 4 years at most." Asma's momentum weakened. "Maybe I will break out that day." Garashi smiled and helped him out. "Asma, didn't Naruto-sama say that we should try to win over the ninjas of those small countries?" Asma, who was saved, quickly continued the topic. "Yes, the old man is like this. Garashi, do you have a way?" Garashi nodded slightly. "I just need your help." At the same time, in the hotel where Yunin was staying, as the leader, Sudai warned seriously, "In this exam, not only will Reikichi-sama appear in the final competition, but the other 4 villages Kages will also be present. Your performance represents the face of our Yunin, so you must show us the style of Yunin, understand?" The group of Yunin's ninjas was like thunder. "Understood." Sudai nodded with satisfaction. "The others are dismissed first, but Yuki stay." When the others left, Sudai asked with a dignified face, "You know the information of other villages. How confident are you in this exam?" Yujito Run swung her ponytail energetically. "I will definitely win." "Very good. Although there are many geniuses in other villages, they shouldn't pose any threat to you. Only," Tutai's voice became heavy as he said, "would leaf that Shimizu Garashi. Once you meet him, just enter your tailed beast mode." Yuki puffed up her cheeks. "But I want to defeat him with my own strength." For the kitten's proud reaction, Todai skillfully comforted it. Tailed beasts are originally part of the strength of a Jinchuriki, just like the puppet masters of the San Crypsis. Can you force them not to use puppets? Furthermore, that Shimizu Garashi is 2 years older than you. It would be unfair to limit your strength. In the hotel where Kirin was staying, would leaf Shimizu Garashi, San Crypsis' Marky, Rock Crypsis' Purple Earth. The 2 girls discussed seriously, and one of them looked at someone who didn't fit in next to her with dissatisfaction. "If you don't kill, we are a team. You should listen carefully. If you don't kill, wipe the blade indifferently. Women will only affect the speed of my sword." Violet Knight said angrily. "What do you mean?" "If you don't kill," narrowed his eyes and looked at her. "Don't you understand? Don't hinder me from killing people, otherwise, I will kill you too." Empress Shomiai quickly stood up to appease the 2, and then said, "If you don't kill, I know you are strong, but that Shimizu Garashi is known as the strongest genius of Woodleaf in 20 years. You will suffer if you underestimate him." "If you don't kill," took off his mask and licked the dagger in his hand. "It is interesting to kill people like him, isn't it?" On the sand's side, "Marky Dage, you must take first place in this exam." "That's right. Let the other villages know the power of San Crypsis." Although he was praised by everyone, Marky didn't lose his calm. "Compared to those real geniuses, I only have the advantage of age. There is nothing to be proud of." He had seen real geniuses, and it was a gap that ordinary people could never surpass. If it is Sasori, he can definitely do it. Thinking of this, his mood became heavier. Shimizu Garashi, is he a genius like Sasori? As for Rock Crypsis, your enemy this time is Woodleaf, who used despicable means to plot against many of our excellent ninjas. Magic Leech, Sama, I heard that the despicable Woodleaf squad also participated in the Chunin exam. It is better to let us do it. Magic Leech frowned slightly. If you meet that squad, I allow you to escape directly. Purple Earth couldn't believe it. Magic Leech-sama, how can we admit defeat to those despicable guys? Magic Leech's face was cold. Can't you hear what I said? Purple Earth's face turned red, but in the end he bowed his head weakly. I know. Magic Leech didn't care and glanced at everyone. Except for the Woodleaf squad. The other Woodleaf ninjas can be your prey, understand? Understood. Chapter 98. Look, that's a ninja from the Rain Country. That's a Hoshino from the Bear Country. Yunin's people are also here, they're not easy to deal with. As time passed, more and more ninjas from other villages appeared in Konoha. The news of the joint Chunin exam also spread. In this regard, most of the villagers of Woodleaf were happy to see it. After all, holding such a grand Chunin exam is a symbol of national strength. At this moment, several Woodleaf ninjas were whispering to each other in an izakaya. Where is San Crypsis? I took a shortcut, they should be 2 minutes away. Where is Yunin? About 3 minutes. The actors are already in place, Asma. Let's watch your performance. Damn, why do I have to play such a retarded role? Really? It's obviously your style. What? Have I always been like this in your eyes? This is called great wisdom looks stupid. At least in the eyes of other villages. This kind of thing is very in line with your character. Ibiki urged. There's no time, hurry up. Asma muttered with a depressed face. But as soon as he stepped into the street, he instantly got into the mood. Bandana man over there. Are you Marky from San Crypsis? The San Crypsis ninjas who were talking and laughing stopped, and turned their heads to look at the side, only to see a gangster with a cigarette in his mouth shouting. Marky frowned and said coldly, That's me. I heard that you are the most powerful ninja in San Crypsis. You look very ordinary. In the eyes of the San Crypsis ninjas, Asma shrugged and said, Sorry, I'm a straightforward person. You bastard. At this time, several ninjas of Yunin happened to come to a fork in the road from another road. It seems that there is something interesting to watch. Yuki excitedly pulled his friend and squeezed through the crowd. Samui, let's go and take a look. No, this isn't cool at all. Samui resisted, but he was still dragged over. Marky stopped the underling who was about to make a move. Who are you? Do you want to fight? Asma pointed at himself with his thumb. My name is Asma, and I'm the second most powerful person among Woodleaf's genin. The third Naruto's son? Marky naturally knew about the other party's information, but he still found it hard to believe. One day, I'll make you call him Asma's father. Asma said rebelliously, just as the intelligence said. Marky's mouth twitched. You came here just to tell me this? Asuma waved his hand impatiently. Some ignorant guys said that the 5 most famous ninjas of the 5 great ninja villages are the 5 most powerful ninjas in the Chunin exam. But I think that the first place of some villages may not be as good as the second place of Woodleaf. Well, maybe even Ibixi, that Woodleaf guy is not as good as him. In the distance, Kurenai looked at Ibixi in surprise. This is too cruel. You even want to ridicule your own script. Ibixi said with a dark face. He added it himself. Marky's underling beside him scolded angrily. Make it clear. Who are you referring to by some villages? Asma sighed pretentiously. Do you want me to make it clear? It's San Crypsis, where your boss is missing Yunin, who is rushing to graduate, and Rock Crypsis, where a Jonin can't beat a genin. Yuki, who was watching the show in the crowd, suddenly had a dark face and jumped out. Bastard! How dare you look down on our Yunin? Asma showed a hint of surprise and immediately yawned. Sorry, I refuse to communicate with trainees like you. Yuki shouted angrily. Bastard, I'm going to hit you. Marky squinted his eyes. Wait for me to finish. I said it first. He came to me first, Asma said disdainfully. With just you. You. Just as the few of them were about to draw their swords, a gentle voice cut in. Sorry, Asma has caused you trouble. Hey Garashi, I didn't bully them. He's Shimizu Garashi. Yuki and Marky were shocked, and looked at the boy who was talking. He was handsome, gentle, and refreshing. Just one look was enough to make people like him. However, they reacted quickly. Wait What do you mean you didn't bully us? Asma rubbed his fist. Do you want to be beaten up? Garashi pressed his shoulder. If you hurt a candidate before the exam, you will be banned from the exam. What do you mean? Are you saying that we will be hurt by him? Garashi waved his hand. Of course not. You must be very strong to be able to represent your village in the exam. Then let him fight with us. Garashi was surprised. 2 against 1? That's true. Both Yujito-ni and Marky were furious at Shushi's provocation. 1-on-1, it's a 1-on-1. Garashi looked embarrassed and finally smiled bitterly. Let's choose a method that won't hurt each other. Although the format and content of the exam changes every year, the venue generally doesn't change too much. Why don't we see who can pass through the forest of death the fastest? Yuki and Marky didn't want to be disqualified, so they had to agree. Just you wait, I will win. After the incident subsided, Asma couldn't help but laugh. Haha, it's really smooth. Well, it's good that their team leader didn't follow them. After all, they have dozens of people, and those ninjas can't follow them every day. Asma said. Of course, they can't follow them every day, otherwise, how can they gather information? Garashi shook his head slightly. Gather information? You don't think they're that honest, do you? Since they agreed to hold the exam in Woodleaf, they probably want to find out about our military distribution. What should we do? Should we hurry to remind the old man? Do you think Naruto-sama didn't think of this? Then why did they agree? Asma was confused. Of course, because we don't have a military distribution at all. Garashi chuckled softly. Don't worry, it's too late for them to know now. On the one hand, the ninjas who came to participate in the exam are equivalent to hostages. On the other hand, Woodleaf's preparation should be completed soon. In short, they have missed the best time to act. Asuma had a strange look on his face. Then aren't they about to die from anger? Garashi sighed. They probably didn't expect that Woodleaf's military would be lax to this extent, right? Asuma shook his head and threw these complicated thoughts aside. By the way, Garashi, since you want to expand your influence, why don't you pull Kirin and Rock Crypsis in? If you defeat the 4 major ninja villages at once, won't the effect of winning over the small ninja villages be better? Garashi raised his fingers. First, if you encounter too many ninja villages at once, it's easy to be noticed. Moreover, after they hear about this competition, maybe they will feel despised and take the initiative to ask to join? Second, who said I plan to win against them? Asma was startled. You don't plan to win? Shushi nodded slightly. Showcasing your strength should be reserved for the final competition. As for this competition, I just don't want them to hinder my plan. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.